Here, we're going to run through how to set up every single version of the Aimbot. We're going to record it all. We're going to do it in a YouTube ish format up front, so I'm pretty much going to speed run through it, and then we'll answer questions for a little bit. Just so you guys know, we are in the Discord on top of streaming on YouTube and to the Twitch channel. So you can ask your questions on any of those chats. You can ask them also in the events chat itself. So if you're in the Discord, you can ask it in the events chat here. Or if you are a Patreon or Discord premium member, you can unmute yourself and ask at any time. All right. So we're going to wait like 2-3 more minutes here, probably till 1:05 to see if anyone else starts rolling in. And then I'll go and press the record button here. And I guess I should take off these banners. Is it this one? We can take that one off. And where is this one at? Here we go. I'll take that one off. And I'll slide myself down here. There we go. That's the setup for 100 Days of RootKit. So we'll just get more vanilla here. I see. So is this a tutorial on how to get set up? Because I am dumb and I need a visual tutorial. Yes, this is a tutorial on how to get set up. All right. Because I'm low-key just getting pissed off because recently ever since I forget the YouTuber's name, released his video in regards to AI aimbots, all AI aimbot content has basically launched, as you can see here, to our YouTube analytics. So the amount of people that are joining our Discord and asking for help has absolutely skyrocketed, and I'm getting annoyed. So we're going to go ahead and make videos. Maybe we'll do streams a couple times a month. I don't know. In regards to the AI aimbot specifically. But there are going to be changes to the Discord to funnel you guys into one channel because it's starting to get overwhelming with you guys posting on every single channel. All right. So because of your demand and your cries, here we are. All right. Here we are. I think I stalled for long enough. We're at 1:05 right now. So let me go ahead and double check the Discord. And any last minute questions before we start? All right. This is the last time you're able to ask questions until the end. Well, most likely, I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind halfway through. But worst case scenario, we'll take questions and we'll do questions at the end. But again, we're going to run through every single setup. Every single setup. And we are in the Discord, in the events chat. So if you are a Discord premium member, make sure you join. You can chat. How to train custom models. Our supporters. So if you are a supporter, so via the Patreon or Discord premium, we do take suggestions for classes. And we have been asked, because the 100 Day of RootKit event is coming to an end here soon, we'll be having a lot more time for doing custom classes again. So we've had a couple requests for AI classes, how to go about AI development, and then making your own custom models. So we will be teaching classes here soon. Join the Discord, and I'll put on your... I don't know, maybe I should make a new chat for classes. I think I usually push them out in general updates. Just be looking for the event. All right, I most likely am going to push it out. So just be looking for that event. And then you can, join in. Does it need a GPU to run? Or a good GPU to run? No. You can run it on CPU. It's not going to work that great. But it will run, and we'll go over that here all today. All right, we'll go over that all here today. Someone added me. How to move the camera region. Join the live stream. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So you guys do ask questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat for right now, I'm going to ignore them till we get to a good breaking spot. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording here. Hopefully it records nice and well. I haven't used the Streamlabs recording too much. All right, sweet. Before we get into it, let's go ahead and do our intro here. That's typical for every live stream. If you don't know, we are a RootKit nonprofit organization here in the US of A. Don't go to college. Don't go to any other boot camp. It's a waste of your time and your money. Instead, get certified through us. All right, completely free to learn everything you need to know. Our roadmap for becoming a developer is on GitHub, and we have the 100 Days of RootKit event going on now. I guess I should change this because it's at 8 p.m. now instead of 7 p.m. where we teach you literally everything you need to know to become a certified developer. We're the industry's best for a reason, all right? You can skip college, you can skip every other boot camp and just learn for free, all right? Let us continue here. Also, if you do end up joining, we do lots of giveaways, all right? So we have our week 12 giveaway live right now. So if you go over to our site, go to blog, week 12 giveaway, you can enter to win. It's completely free. Just show that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, following on Twitch, other basic things, and you'll get free entries to win. This week we're giving away 3 merch items because of a deal we had on week 11. We're giving away 2 epic t-shirts, and then we're also giving away the mystery item. What it is, I don't even know. We randomly roll a number, and whatever it lands on is the merch item we're giving away. So make sure you join for that. If you want to help support us, of course, like I said, we are a charity. There's a Discord Premium and Patreon membership, which I personally think is best. It's pretty cheap, and it helps us monthly because we know exactly how much we're going to get. But since right now we're in the 100 Days of RootKit event, even though this stream right now isn't in regards to it, I'm still going to shout this out. We are a nonprofit, so if you are here in the US, if you donate to us, it's 100% tax deductible. Depending on how much you donate to us, there's a link in the description of this video and below on the Twitch somewhere. If you donate, you can unlock certain rewards like our epic stickers, our collab t-shirt, and this epic sweater I got on that's exclusive to the 100 Days of RootKit event, and it has the RootKit logo on the back. All donations are matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations, and those roll in at the end of the month. And we have pillars along the way, like streaming for 24 hours straight, which might be very useful for those of you that are here for the AI Aimbot stuff, because we're just going to be streaming for 24 hours straight and talk about whatever we end up talking about. Shave my head here live on stream, and the goal for us not to hit is shaving my beard. No one wants to see that. That's where all my wisdom is at, all right? All right. All right, we finish up with the intro, so let's go and get in here. So to get our aimbot, if you're coming from the YouTubes, all right, there's a link in the description of all of the videos to take you to our GitHub. When you go to our GitHub, you're going to see this is the repo itself. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. When you go to the GitHub, exactly, there's going to be a pinned item here called AI Aimbot. So you can click on that. You can also search AI Aimbot or find it. It's one of the most popular repos, and then you can click on it. This is the entire code base. Now, listen up. If you are here for hacking or cheating or learning how to code or whatever, cool. Download it, use it. If you are here particularly not to learn, but just to use this, then guess what? You're going to find minimal support. Because we are a nonprofit for educating and certifying people. So if you're here to learn, you will learn. If you're here not to learn, you're not going to get helped. So let us move on here. Just because things are up on GitHub do not mean they are safe or reputable. You are playing a sketchy game when you're going down the route of cheats and hacks, all right? When you go down the route of cheat and hacks, it's common for people to have it up on GitHub. Just because it's on GitHub and it's open source doesn't mean it's good, reputable, and it's not going to do something malicious. You can particularly tell it's very bad if it's an executable file. All right, should not be downloading anything from GitHub that's an executable file. If you are, then guess what? You deserve every little bit that happens to you. All right, you deserve every little bit that happens to you. This additionally goes for anything you download in regards to this realm. People don't give this stuff away for free. We do because we're stupid, all right? We're very stupid, and we're a nonprofit, all right? We're helping people get educated. People don't usually do this for free, and it's usually mixed with viruses, all right? The big reason why we're doing this is for devs to be aware and patch this. No one has patched this capability at all. This works in every game, with the caveat that some games like Valorant require a little bit of additional setup to get around some of their systems, right? It's a massive issue, and those of you that are coming from that super popular video with millions of views, it's a good start. It's a good start, but again, people have to implement that. Most people aren't, and it's not going to stop everything. It's a cat and mouse game. So the first mistake a lot of people make when they get on here, which is understandable, all right, is 100% understandable, is they're going to go to releases and try to download the release because they see it's a zip file, because this may be your first time on GitHub, so it's a little confusing, right? It's a little confusing. Don't download the releases, right? Because we usually push out a bunch of minor updates straight to the code directly, and the releases are like little snapshots in time whenever we make like this snapshot. But these snapshots go out of date really quick, and the only way to keep up to date is also remaking these releases, which I've not done a good job on. So don't download the release. The last release I made was 2 days ago, just to say literally don't download the release, just download from the code button. What is the code button? This green code button here. If you click on this green code button, you're going to see a drop down with a bunch of different options you can utilize. For most of you, the easiest option here is going to be download zip. This will download the latest and greatest, all right? And this is constantly being updated a little bit here and there. Nothing too major of late, but it's just little minor bug fixes and stuff. So if you notice that yours ever is just bugging out or not working anymore, come back here, download the new update, and there you go. If you are more of a dev and you know how to use Git, then please use Git. That way you can just pull down the latest updates. Now, the next thing you need to do is, for the love of God, I didn't spend all my time writing this for you not to read it. So read every little bit of it, all right? The Aimbot is based off of YOLO v5, which is one of many different AI models out there that are free and publicly available and widely used for doing object detection. Object detection is a machine learning technique for detecting objects and images. It's kind of self-explanatory. Why YOLO v5? Why not YOLO v8, which everyone asks about all the time? YOLO v5 is faster than v8. V8 performs better, but the thing is, I don't know what GPU you guys have. A lot of you guys have not the latest and greatest hardware because that costs money, all right? And not everyone has a bunch of money they can throw around for a 30 or a 4090, all right? So YOLO v5 is a sweet spot between fast and performing decently. We also utilize, if you look here and copy and paste this and search it, you can go view the actual repo we got the model from, which is from Ultralytics, which is a massive company that is funded by DoD money, all right, here in the US of A. So you can see here even their graph on what is faster and what's not faster and the accuracy, all right? So we use the small model. There's a bunch of models in here by default, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that you get out of the box by default. We are utilizing small. The only one smaller than that is Nano, but Nano is just so terrible. The bot is basically unusable because it's not really that great at identifying stuff. We use small. If you have a better GPU, then you should probably use YOLO v8 small or utilize the medium YOLO v5 model. All right, staying in YOLO v5 and going up and upgrading models, very, very easy. All right, very, very easy, quick process. We'll show you guys how to do it. When you are jumping to v8, you're going to have to make some alterations yourself and learn some programming. If you want to learn programming, guess what? We have the 100 Days of RootKit event. All of the past 80 something days are all recorded on the YouTube channel, and you can learn, watch them, get certified, become a dev, and then do this as your full-time job, make lots of money. All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and jump back to the yes, this is being recorded right now. This is all being recorded onto the YouTube channel, and I'm recording it locally so we can make a actual faster cut up video. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. So we use YOLO v5, and YOLO v5 can detect a lot of different stuff, not just humanoid figures. All right, YOLO v5 can detect things like cars and, I don't know, vegetables, rocks, ducks, etc., etc. So we are really limiting what it's doing here. Additionally, this could be a lot faster if you make a YOLO model just for human detection, because again, this is the out-of-the-box YOLO model that is able to detect a bunch of stuff, right? A bunch of stuff, not just humans. So maybe the game that you want to utilize this on doesn't use humanoid characters, and here you can get more information about each one of the models. Maybe you want to be able to identify more than just human characters. You can using this, all right? And I'll show you in the code where it's hard limiting to humanoid characters and how you can modify it. So this does work in games like Valorant and Overwatch. Overwatch blocks the screen recording with DXCam, which we're using, so you can either swap that out, or some people getting around that will use something like OBS or Streamlabs to have it so it watches that and then plays the game. So it's like a workaround, because all this is effectively a screen recorder that moves your mouse. Valorant, you can get around it by using a Arduino workaround or a custom mouse driver. Custom mouse drivers are going to be a little bit more sketchy. All right, the Arduino workaround is going to be a little better. Don't ask me for the code. I don't have it. If you go over to the showcase section of our Discord, Back to Back has been going crazy on his development and upgrades to the bot. So he has it fully functioning and probably in a better state than the base game. All right, so you can ask him questions if you would like. Don't ask him for the code. I don't know if he's actually trying to sell or not, because technically that's illegal. That's why what we're doing is fine, because we're just giving it for free. You can ask though for advice if you want to go down the programming route. So moving on, it's still pretty much undetectable from anti-cheats. This split gate, the individual, when they reported it, they said that they're pretty sure they were human reported and not actually from the game. Besides that, no, for the millionth time, no one has been found using this from the normal anti-cheat systems. You can be reported by normal users because it does look super buggy sometimes. All the code is made in a very flat way in one file. So there's a bunch of files here that you're going to see. Pretty much each one of these files are completely independent, and it contains everything you need in order to view it and mess with it. All right. It was made like that on purpose, not because it was great programming practice, but because for you learning, it's just really easier to just read through. Again, use this at your own risk. All right, this is for educational purposes. If you're going to use this in active games, ranked, etc., etc., if you get banned, well, so what? I don't care. I literally don't care. All right, the point of it is for you to learn. If we move on here, if you're going to modify it, just give us credit. All right, if you want to sell it and go down that route and potentially get legal stuff against you, cool. Still give us credit, right? Still give us credit. Let's see, links to the videos. If you do find any games that will identify it, let us know. We'll give you credit. More people were given credit, but they wanted their names removed so they could stay more anonymous. So just let us know. We are all about attribution and making sure we're always giving back. The next section, configurable settings. What does this mean? This means things you can change in order to modify the bot easily to work with whatever game you want to mess with. All right. So look through this. If you have questions on how to do things, look and read through it. Now, the default settings are good for most games, right? Pretty much most games, don't change them. They're going to be good. Besides the video game title, because the game title changes for every game. Caps lock, for the love of God, all right? Caps lock is the default toggling ability for the Aimbot, all right? So even though it's running, it will not work unless you press caps lock, all right? Your caps lock has to be on. When your caps lock is on, the Aimbot is going to move your mouse. When it is off, it is not going to move your mouse anymore. So please, for the love of God, just read this stuff, all right? I'm saying this because lots of people will get it running, which is great for them because that's a feat within itself, but they won't read this, all right? They won't read this. I see that you guys are posting in the chat. I'll go through the chat here in a second, all right? So the video game title is the only thing that you're going to have to change out of the box. It is right now purposely left in a state where it requires you to edit the text file. This is on purpose. Everything about this bot was left in the state it is on purpose because we are here to help educate you on how to become a programmer. This is the only thing you really technically need to do in changing the program. You need to open it up and program yourself, quote unquote, which is changing the video game title. This is us getting you exposure to actually programming yourself. So congratulations if you did get it running. You're now a programmer, all right? You have programmed this. Next are various different options for shifting right. So if you are playing Fortnite or New World or any third-person game that has your hands or your character on the screen, the bot will identify your character or your hands sometimes as being a human or a part of a human. So you may need to shift the little, because it's basically a center box snipping tool. So basically the bot is going to be looking right here at the center, all right, of the center of your screen, not the whole screen, just the little bit center part. So if this box encapsulates your hands or your character, then you might need to shift it to the right a little bit, or you can also put negative values in here and shift it to the left. All right, so that way you can remove those artifacts. There is logic in it, so it will automatically handle the shifting and it won't be buggy on the aiming, even though you're slightly off. All right, so the quit key is by default is Q. So anytime you want to quit the bot completely, you can press the Q key, right? You can press the Q key. If this doesn't work, you can just close it, or worst case scenario, you can pull up Task Manager and then close it from there, all right? Next is headshot mode. This basically will just aim slightly upward from center of mass, because by default, you know, if it identifies a person, object detection, by default, so this is effectively what it's doing, is drawing a box. So we're going to go, you know, we're playing a first person shooter and we want to kill this dog here, all right? So by default, it will want to go to the very center of this box that is drawn, per se, right? The box that is drawn. So when you have headshot mode on, it will move from the center upward a little bit, all right? So you can get the dog right between the eyes, right where you want. Now, this can be edited. I don't know if it's here in the settings. It doesn't look like it's here in the settings, so this is more of a pro move. This is just simply a toggle. So if you see that you're heading below their head or above, then you may need to go into the code further and modify the value, and I'll point that out. CPS, when you run this successfully, you're going to see a lot of print statements saying CPS. What is CPS? It's corrections per second. So you know how you want to run your game at 60 FPS? Ideally, you want 60 CPS also. That means that your mouse movements are happening once every single frame. This isn't realistic for most people, but it is possible. Visuals is if you want to see what the bot sees. Movement amp is for how fast your mouse moves around. So if you see that the bot is overshooting targets, then you might want to lower this, right? You might want to lower this. I think it's at 0.8 by default. You can go down to 0.5. You can go as low to 0 as you want, but go in 0.1 increments. Confidence is something that's very common for some people to modify depending on the game you're using, like Overwatch and maybe Minecraft. This is basically how confident the aimbot should be when detecting someone. So by default, when you are detecting objects, here we go. It will have a percentage on how confident it is on what that object is. So even though it sees a human, it may only be 60% confident that it's a human, all right? So by default, we have it set to 50%. So anything that is indicated that it's 50% confident this is a human, it will try to aim towards. Now, if you see that you're aiming towards things that are not human, you may want to increase the confidence, all right? And if it's not picking up on things, then you may want to decrease the confidence. Screenshot height and screenshot width, pretty much self-explanatory. You should definitely keep these default unless you know what you're doing, because this will slow down the bot. And then the detection box, this should be left alone unless you know what you're doing. We'll talk about those a little bit when we get into the code. Current stats. The last benchmark I did was actually on a 3080, and the cap is about the same, but the minimum is usually around 40 to 30 corrections per second. So I think my big bottleneck is my CPU. So if you have a better CPU than that, you should expect better results than that. You must run this in 1080p for best results. So if you have a 4K monitor like myself, or if you have a 1440p monitor, make sure you're running the games in 1080p, because you're going to get the best results that way. Because again, you're doing image processing. Image processing is very slow. So in order to make it as fast as possible, the images should be as small as possible. All right. So anything dealing with machine learning can be funky on your computer. Machine learning isn't a very stable thing, especially on Windows computers, but everyone here has Windows computers, and the bot is made for working on Windows only. So that's why this can be a little weird and finicky sometimes when you're trying to run it, but it's overall pretty stable, right? These aren't end consumer products. These are, programming world stuff. Programmers deal with buggy stuff all the time. So you're just kind of getting a insight behind the veil effectively. Also, this works best with NVIDIA GPUs. If you have no GPU, you can run it. It's just not really going to be that great for you. All right. And if you have an AMD GPU, we do now have AMD support, but you can blame AMD overall because they have been sucking. All right. They have not stayed up to date with the machine learning tech. They have not been supporting the developers with machine learning library integration, and basically blame them. All right. It's their fault. So there's a bunch of different versions. The main.py is the easiest to start running, but it is the slowest one, right? The main.py is the easiest, but the slowest one. There's a custom folder. So if you do create your own models and you want to share them with people, you can put a pull request in on a repo and just add your stuff to the custom folder. And I have a layout below on how to what to follow. The Torch GPU will be slightly better. The onnx ones will be the best, or the best ones in regards to performance and ease of use to set up. The tensor one is the best one, period, but it's a pain to set up, and we're going to go through that. All right, we're going to go through that. Also for AMD support, so everyone here that has AMD GPUs, the only way you're going to see it work effectively is if you run the onnx AMD version, right? The normal version, the main.py version, will not use your AMD GPU. It's going to just run on your CPU only, because they don't have, PyTorch doesn't have support on Windows for AMD GPUs. Alrighty, let us move on here. This is just some setup stuff for the tensor one, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Sometimes you have to, again, it's a whole pain for the tensor setup. Sometimes you'll have to remake the tensor model yourself. So the requirements, this is where we first start with our setup, right? the requirements. Yeah, it says requirements, and I say 2050 here and higher. This is for actual usable functionality. If you don't have a 2050 or you have something worse than a 2050, it will still work and it will still run just fine. It just won't be that great, right? It won't be that great because, again, actually, I don't think I mentioned it earlier. The AI aimbots are only possible now, and you're seeing an influx of them now because the consumer GPUs are just now fast enough where it makes this practical. Before, they were too slow. All right, they were too slow, but now it's practical. And the reason why this is undetectable is because everyone streams nowadays. All this is doing screen recording, just like any streamer would, and then software-based movements. That part can be detectable, but most anti-cheat systems are based off traditional attacks, which are more memory injection and DLL manipulation, which this does nothing of that. This is purely a screen recorder with mouse movements. So it's very hard to detect. The next thing you need to do is install either 11.6 or 11.7 CUDA toolkit. This depends on what you want to do. 11.6 is going to be compatible with onnx. If you don't want to set up onnx, then do 11.7. 11.7 will work with Torch, and it will work for the tensorrt version. How do you set these up? Visit the links right here. So this is for 11.6. If we go here, you're going to see Windows. Sorry, before we move on, this is for people with NVIDIA GPUs only. If you do not have an NVIDIA GPU, you don't need to follow these steps. These steps will not work for you. So again, if you want to run the onnx one only, then 11.6, click on Windows, 64, then version 10 or 11, whatever Windows version you have, and then you can do the exe local or network, it doesn't matter, and go ahead and download and then install it, right? Download and install it. Same setup for the 11.7. Go here, Windows, 64-bit. Do you have Windows 10 or 11? Then you can download the exe network or local, does not matter. They will both do the same job, and just download and then install it. All right. That will get you all set up here. All right. All set up here. Let's go ahead and take a second and look at the comments. So we got people on the Twitch, on the YouTubes, and on the Discord. So we're going to start with Discord first. Again, if you are a Patreon or Discord premium member, you can unmute yourself at any time and ask questions. Let's open the chat here. No one here has asked anything in the chat. So let's go ahead and go. Why is this one? There we go. I don't know why that didn't show up as started. Let's go ahead and look at the YouTubes here. God, you guys put a lot of stuff in here. Yes, it will work on AMD GPUs. This is going to be recorded. Have you seen Basically Homeless? Is that the super big video? Yes, I have seen it. And it's a good video overall. I left a comment on the video. We were in it for like a half a second at the intro. I think overall though, it's kind of basic and it doesn't really dive into the depths of how to resolve all of it. It was good, but it was just like, here's a thing that exists that can work. And there you go. That's it. End of video. It didn't really dive into what specifics they're doing, how they're trying to combat it, etc., and what it currently can detect and not detect. That's the big flag, is when you see something that doesn't really go about what it doesn't detect, because I guarantee that's not going to detect a lot. And it does profiling. So because it does profiling, if you always use cheats or aimbots, you'll pretty much be undetectable at all times, because that's the profile it has on you, is that buggy movement. It only works well if you switch between bots and your normal gameplay, because then it can tell that's an anomaly. I'm guessing they're using unsupervised machine learning for it. That was my assumption earlier when people first mentioned it, and I'll talk about that earlier or later, because there are a bunch of ways you can go about detecting it. that go from very, very basic to very, very complex. Let us see here. Is there an FOV option? No. And I'll talk about that in a bit. Right now, it's locked by 300 by 300 pixels. So we'll only look at a 300 by 300 pixels section on your screen. There are ways to change that. So let's say that's 300 by 320 pixels. That's all it will see. There are ways to change that, but again, you have to have a better GPU to really see better performance. Let's go in here. No, I mean camera surveillance system. You can use this for your camera surveillance system. You can use this for any visuals. So not just like the Aimbot is the tip of the iceberg. You can use this for your surveillance system. You can put this on an assault rifle and have it so you have an auto turret. Like you can do anything. Like it will detect humanoid figures in any platform. All right. Any type of visuals. All right. It does not just mean video games, and it doesn't just do humans. It does more than humans. And YOLO is like the lowest one. There are better ones than YOLO, but YOLO will get you the fastest real-time results, which when you're playing a game, you want real-time results because you want it just to move immediately. If you're not playing a game, then you can use one that's better and a little bit slower. If I set visuals to true, open a window, yes, it should. Yes, if you set visuals to true, it should open a second window and show you what the bot sees. Aiming system keeps aiming towards the ground. Should I increase the confidence? No, if it's aiming towards the ground or if it's aiming off to the side constantly, that means it's probably picking up on your character and trying to move down, or on your hand and it's trying to move to the side, which means you should use the AA right shift, all right? Either shift it to the right or use negative values to shift it to the left. Teach us how to make the models. Addressed that earlier. We'll do follow-up classes on how to make the models. onnx still says NVIDIA CPU. Shouldn't say GPU. Yeah, there's some typos. Because this says onnx NVIDIA here, and then the file here says onnx NVIDIA copy. So just ignore those, all right? I swear I know what I'm doing. Will it work on AMD? Yes, it will work on AMD. How can I install it on AMD? We'll show that here in a second. All right, so let's go and continue here. So toolkit, again, if you're going to be utilizing this on NVIDIA. So once you click that code button, again, click the code button up here. This is the only way you should be downloading, and then click on download zip. There are steps here for everything you need to do after that. All right, so if we go here, the first step, unzip the file and place the folder inside of it somewhere easy to access. So let me go ahead and go through this for you. We're going to click on download. Now it's downloaded right here. I'm going to unzip it. Inside of here is going to be a folder. All right, there's going to be a folder. What does it tell you what to do with the folder? Let's reread it. Unzip the file, which we just did, and place the folder somewhere easy to access. All right, somewhere easy to access. You know what's easy to access? My desktop. So let's take the folder and place it on the desktop here. That is somewhere easy to access, right? So now we have it right here. All right, so let's read through this some more. Make sure you have a pet Python, aka install Python 3.10, right? Install Python 3.10. Don't install Python 3.11. Did I say install Python 3.11? I did not say install Python 3.11. I said install Python 3.10 for the love of God. Holy shit. Click on this link. You're going to see the Python site come up here. There's going to be a download tab. Do not install Python 3.11. The thing is with machine learning is it's very finicky, like we said before. So the newer versions of Python will eventually get support with the machine learning libraries, but they lag behind a little bit. So 3.10 has full compatibility. So just do 3.10, even though 3.11 is the latest and greatest, all right? The libraries do not support it. So click on the Windows button here. And in here, you're going to see a bunch of stable releases. So at the top, they have the version number. Let me zoom in. This is kind of small. So 3.10.10. That is, it's not 3.10 exactly, but it is based off 3.10. This will work. 3.11 here, not going to work. All right. This 3.11 not going to work. This 3.10 will work. Anything with 3.10 will work 100%. Can you have Bolt downloaded? Yes, you can have Bolt downloaded. That is okay. You may have to mess with your environmental variables, which we have a video on our channel that will walk you through how to do that. All right, let's go and move on. So to download this, we're going to go and click on the 64-bit Windows not embedded installer. All right. Why 64-bit? Everything you do is 64-bit. If you don't know what 64-bit is, you should watch 100 Days of RootKit so you can learn. All right. So you can learn. So Windows installer 64-bit. We're going to click on that. It's going to bring up the exe. Now, wait. Don't move forward anymore. All right. There is a button. All right. Yours, if you've never installed Python before, yours is going to look slightly different. There's going to be a button. All right. There's going to be a button here at the bottom. Right here at the bottom. Let me hold on one second. Everyone in the Discord, I don't think I linked the YouTube channel. So just forgetting to do things. All right. There will be a button here at the bottom. Now, don't ask me why it's like this. I don't like that it's like this because it's not beginner user helpful at all. All right. There's a button here at the bottom that says add to path. It's a checkbox. Click that checkbox for the love of God, or else you're going to have to go watch some more YouTube videos on our channel in order to set things up properly. All right. If you don't click it, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure you click it. All right. Make sure you click it and then just click next. All right. What is Python? Python is one of a million different programming languages. It's one of the most popular, common languages in the world. If you want to get into programming, Python is a great start, right? And you are installing it on your computer so you can become a programmer. So go ahead and install that, right? That is the next step. So if you did mess up by not clicking that checkbox, you will notice it on the next steps when you start trying to run them, right? The next steps when you try to run them, you're going to get either a Python is not recognized command, a pip is not recognized command, or both of them, or you might even get it trying to tell you that you need to install Python from the Windows Store. Do not install Python from the Windows Store. All right, it will be super buggy. It will not work well. All right, so if you did install it from the Windows Store, uninstall it and reinstall it directly from the website. We have linked our videos directly to solve these issues, and they're pretty short. All right, they're like 2 minutes each. Basically, you need to go in and change your environmental variables. Now, if you have multiple, if you click Windows key and just type in environmental variables, you'll get the box for it. And there's the button here for environmental variables. If you have multiple versions of Python installed, like I do, you need to go, you can only have one version of Python active at any time. So you'll need to go in here and make sure that your Python version, mine right now is 3.10. As you can see here, it says 3.10. You will need to change this to whatever version you want to run, or I guess have as your default for PowerShell. If you're using VS Code, this doesn't really matter as much to you because you can just change it in VS Code really easily here at the bottom by clicking on that, and then you can choose between your different versions. So I have 3.9, 3.10, and 3.11 here. All right, let us go and continue. So the next step after you install Python, right, is going to be, I'm not sure why I say Windows users, because this is, you can only run this on Windows. You can open up PowerShell or command prompt. All right. What are these? These are the things people think that means you're hacking. All right. Command prompt in PowerShell. So here's what PowerShell looks like. Yours will not be that big. It's that big for me because 100 Days of RootKit teaching things. PowerShell and command prompt. You can tell the difference because command prompt will be black and white, and this one will be blue and white. This does not mean you're hacking, getting into the mainframe, matrix, etc., etc., etc. You're not cool if you're using this. This is just your computer. By default, your Windows computer is just visuals. What do I mean by that? It's GUIs. GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. It's pretty pictures that normal people can understand really easily and really visually, intuitively. All right. When you use a command prompt, this is the same thing as if you were looking at your desktop, except now you're in a little bit more of a cancer-like state. All right. You don't get pretty pictures anymore. Instead, all you get is text. What do I mean by this? Well, let's go to my desktop, for example. If we open up File Explorer here and we click on Desktop, this is a way to look at the desktop, all right? Or we can look at the desktop here on my desktop. But regardless of how we're looking at it, these are all the same files, right, that are on my desktop, whether they're here or in this folder here called Desktop. Well, we can go to the desktop folder here by doing cd into my desktop. Can you please get into my desktop? Why are you doing this to me? Where is my desktop located? Are you kidding me? I think I have my desktop in a separate location. Let's go ahead and do something crazy and go look at my downloads, I guess. Hopefully there's nothing in there that's weird. All right. So if we go ahead and cd into downloads, you'll see that right here is all of the downloaded stuff I've recently downloaded, just like you. All right. When we're in the downloads folder here, because this tells you what folder you're currently in, you can view the contents by doing ls to list all the contents in your folder. And if you can see here, you can see all the contents that were in my folder. It's the same. This is the same as this. All right. They are just different in how they're displayed. This is text, which is cancer to most people. And this is pretty pictures, which everyone likes pretty pictures. I like pretty pictures. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing here in the command prompt. Is this is how you execute Python programs. To know if your Python works, if you type in Python at any time, this is the equivalent of launching your internet browser, right? This is launching the Python exe that you just installed. When you press enter, you will enter the Python programming language, right? To leave it, you can type in exit and then two parentheses and then press enter to exit. All right, let's go ahead and clear all of this. All right, let's go ahead and continue here on our journey. Let me go ahead and open up the... All right, so you can open up either or, they will both work. It does not matter, all right? Command prompt is the older stuff. PowerShell is newer. So the next thing we need to do is now install PyTorch, right? We need to now install PyTorch. So go ahead and click on this link. And when you click on this link, it will have this nice little start locally thing here where you can click all these pretty buttons. So we want the stable version. We have Windows. We just installed Python, so we should be using the pip version. And I think it explains right here that you should be selecting stable build, your operating system, pip, Python, and the CUDA version you installed. So if we go here, pip, Python, and the CUDA version we installed. I guess I need to change the instructions because it looks like they updated this. So you have to do, well, I guess I'll have to look at onnx because I think 11.6 is for onnx only. And then 11.7 is for everything else, right? So if you installed 11.7, then copy this line here. If you didn't install the CUDA because you don't have a NVIDIA GPU, just click on the CPU version here, right? Just click on the CPU version here. Is PyTorch necessary for AMD GPU? Yes, click on the CPU version. You still need PyTorch to install. You just are going to install the CPU version because we use it for a couple things. in regards to tensor formatting, if my memory serves correct. We'll see here in a second when we open up the files. On the NVIDIA GPU, I installed 11.7 and it works fine. Perfect. It should work fine. If you follow the instructions exactly and you have an NVIDIA GPU, everything should work fine. If you don't have an NVIDIA GPU, that's usually when you run into maybe an issue here or two. All right, just still install this. So how you install it is it's going to output this little line. It's going to say run this command. If you copy it, all right, if you copy this command, if I can copy it, there we go. Go to command prompt or PowerShell, it's up to you, and you paste it and press enter. All right, I'm going to stop it. So I stopped it, so it looks like a big old error. Just run it and let it install. All right, let it fully install. Now, what is PyTorch? PyTorch is the most popular machine learning library out there, and it's made by everyone's favorite company in the entire world, Meta, or formerly known as Facebook. All right, everyone loves that company. It's the best one out there, right? Yes, it is required for tensorrt. We'll get to that setup here in a second. We're just gonna, we're almost done with the main setup right now. So once we're done with the main setup, we're gonna go through the onnx stuff. Again, if you are a Discord Premium or Patreon member, you can join the events chat and ask questions verbally at any time, right? At any time. Probably gonna consider virtual environment. Yeah, you can use a virtual environment if you want. If you have the more advanced knowledge for that, you can use a virtual environment, either the VNV ENV or whatever it's called for Python, or you can load up a Docker container or whatever you want. Yes, you will be able to see this later. It's all being recorded, and we are going to make a YouTube video from this recording because I'm also recording it locally, not just to YouTube. Let's go ahead and continue here. So once you run that command, PyTorch will get completely installed for you. All right. The last thing you need to do is you're going to need to install all of the other requirements. So if you were to open the folder up, right? If you open the folder up into a text editor, now you don't need VS Code. You don't need any particular text editor. All this is plain text. You can use normal Notepad to open up these files, right? You can use Notepad to open them and edit them. That is 100% fine. It will work just fine. There is no difference between Notepad and VS Code. They do the exact same thing. This just makes things look more pretty, right? And it has some useful tools if you are going to program, but they effectively are the same. They're just Notepad editors. Now, if you were opening up, there is a file in here called requirements.txt. These are a bunch of other libraries that we need to install in order to get this working. These are all very popular, well-known Python libraries for you to install. Whether you believe me or not, why are you here if you don't believe me? All right, just leave. So you need to install these. Now you can install them by running each one of these one by one manually, or it can be all quick and done pretty much immediately by just running this nice command here. So this is a two-parter, all right? First, you need to copy and paste the command below in your terminal. This will install the open source packages needed to run the program. You will need to cd into the downloaded directory first. Follow step 2 into the run section below if you need help. So this sentence probably should be first in the step 5, because this is what you need to do first. You need to cd into the directory you downloaded. So the one here on our desktop, right? We need to cd into that one. How do we cd into that one? Well, if we follow right here, step 2 in the run section, like it says, this will tell us how. It says type cd space, and this is typing it in the command prompt. So type cd and then a space. Does not say press enter. All right, does not say, we say press enter down here. We do not say press enter up here. All right, so cd space. After you do that, what's the next step? Drag and drop the folder that has the bot code onto the terminal. So if we, let me go and close command prompt. So we just have one of these. So if we type in cd and then space, take our folder and drag and drop it right here. Bam. Now we are ready to go. And the next step here is to press the enter key. All right, press the enter key. So we've successfully CD'd into the directory. Once we've CD'd into this, what is CD? CD stands for change directory. It is the equivalent of you opening a folder on your desktop, right? Except we were in the downloads folder and we went directly to the Aimbot folder, right? So now we're in the Aimbot folder. If we do ls, you'll see here's all the files in the Aimbot folder, which we could see if we open up the Aimbot folder, which if we open it up right now, there you go. Those are all the same files as these ones, because now we're in that folder. Once we're in that folder, now we can easily access this requirements.txt. So that's why we run this next command. Pip is a built-in program for Python for installing extra modules, right? So if we do pip install -r right here, so let me copy and paste. Bam, it will install everything. I already have everything installed. I guess it's doing an update on that one. So you're gonna run that. You're gonna see a lot of output. It's gonna take maybe a little bit of time because it's installing a bunch of extra stuff for you to utilize in Python. Basically, you can think of these as mods. All right, they're the equivalent of mods except for in a programming language. Pretty much quintessential to actually programming things in real life. No one actually writes everything from scratch. Everyone steals from each other. All right. The last step is you need to copy this last line and paste it. And this is going to get you dxcam. Dxcam. So by default, pip is going to try to install things from a known mod website per se, right? And that website's called PyPip. So anything that's up on here, when you try to install it, this is where it's going to look by default. This second link, its dxcam is not in there by default. So you can't just do a pip install for dxcam. You basically have to say, hey, this is actually on a different mod website. So go look at that site instead. So this is basically you installing a mod from a different website, right? All right, let us move on here. You're pretty much done with installing and setting up everything. You are pretty much ready now to run the game, right? You are pretty much ready to run the game. What questions you guys have before we run the game here on main.py? The onnx setup, by the way, is very simple after this. It's pretty much one extra step. The tensor one is a couple extra steps, right? Tensor one is a couple extra steps. I don't know where the last time I looked here was. These ones look familiar. Beyond the scope. Really humble. This live will be posted. It's going to be posted. Will this be available to see later? Yes, it will. Is raw? Yes. ROCM is the AMD version of PyTorch. So if we look back here, this is the AMD version of PyTorch, but it's only available to Linux users. All right. So if you're running this on Linux, then you can go down this path, but it doesn't work on Windows. And everything we've made on the bot is very much Windows specific. So if you're going to be running this on Linux and using ROCM, I'm assuming you know what you're doing. All right. I'm assuming you know what you're doing. On the requirements, it misses CuPy. Yes, it does. It does that on purpose. And again, that's another fault on me because the main python.main should not have, well, it doesn't have CuPy. So you don't need CuPy when running main.py. There is another bug that you may need to alter, which I'll push an update later for it. But you don't need CuPy to run main. So now we're ready for the run step. So if you have Python and the packages installed, you are good to go. Load up your game on your main monitor and load into the game, right? You need to have the game open first, right? You need to have the game open first. But before that, this will by default only work on CSGO. So if you are not trying this on CSGO, which I highly recommend, look, I don't care if you don't play CSGO. I don't play CSGO at all right? But that is a known good. All the testing was done on CSGO, so CSGO is ensured to work. If you want to do a different game than CSGO off the bat, you need to set the video game title here to the title of the game. Just like the comment says, you don't need the entire name of the game. You just need something that's defined enough where this won't get confused with any of your other windows. What do I mean by that? Well, if you load up Task Manager here will have a bunch of names, right? Google Chrome, my stream timer, Postman, snipping tools, etc., etc., etc. If I have a game called Spot the Chicken and I only put SPO inside of the video game title, this may get confused on whether you want to be monitoring Spotify or Spot the Chicken. So make sure you put enough in the title here so it doesn't get confused with any of the other windows that you have open or applications you have open at the time. All right. If you are a COD player, why are you playing COD? Come on. You're 30 years old, man. Like, you're not in high school anymore. Move on to a better game, for God's sakes. Holy shit. Okay, but no, seriously. If you are playing COD, all right, if you are playing COD, they use special UTF characters in their title. So, unfortunately for you, there's a little bit more of a setup. Now, we could easily resolve all of this, but that's not the point of this bot. The point of this bot is to get you into programming, even if it's a little bit, even if it's only changing the video game title. So I will add this to the README because it is such a common occurrence. But for now, if you go to the main chat and you click on pinned messages, I have a pinned message here. I guess it's not the first one right now. It's this one that will help you. So what will this do? This is 2 lines of code that you need to run, and it will output all of the titles of all of the games that you currently have open right now. I see chat going crazy, so let me go ahead and check this real quick. On Valorant, it kind of works. It does not move the mouse towards enemies, but if I shoot the gun, it works. Kind of funny. That's weird. Yeah, Valorant blocks the mouse movements. The bot is still working and identifying and trying to move your mouse, but Valorant's Vanguard system blocks mouse movements. There are ways around it. So if you can implement one of the ways around it, you can 100% use the bot in Valorant. And same thing with Overwatch. Yep, like Enrico put in, the COD title looks really weird with the UTF characters. I'll explain those here in a second. So these 2 lines of code right here, if you just copy them from the pinned messages and go to your terminal, whether it, in command prompt or PowerShell, you have to type in Python and press enter to get into the Python interpreter. After that, just paste those 2 lines of code and press enter. And you'll see here a bunch of output. These are all the current windows I have open on my computer. So you can go through and find COD. COD is going to look really, 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 really weird. It's pretty much impossible to miss, right? It's pretty much impossible to miss. You're going to see a bunch of these special UTF-8 characters. They're going to look like this, right? It's going to look like this. You can tell this is Call of Duty because if you look at the end of this, right? So ignore all of these highlighted areas. Look, there's a C right here, an A right here, an L, all right? We got call, and then that's going to be a space, and then of duty. These are special UTF-8 characters. What is UTF-8? There are 2 major types of character sets on your computer. This goes for not just your computer, your mobile devices, servers, literally anything that you do. Your smartwatch, I don't care what it is, everything is a computer. This goes for every single one of them. They use UTF-8 or UTF by the default for their character set. Don't know what it is? Go Google it. Or even better yet, go ask ChatGPT or something, all right? UTF-8 is the latest standard of text. This is what allows you to type in English, Spanish, Japanese, whatever language you want, and this also contains every single emoji. Every single emoji ever. It's all a part of this UTF-8 character set. If you don't know what this is and you think you're getting hacked, don't be stupid. Just ask ChatGPT, or now that I've told you that it is UTF-8, Google it. Google what UTF-8 and then this is. So if we copy what this is, go to UTF-8 and click space and press enter. Look at that. UTF-8 has some weird characters. I personally don't know why they're using this. But this is a special character called a zero width space, which means it's literally a space that takes up no space. Look, you could ask the devs at whatever makes fucking Call of Duty right now, all right? I have no clue why they are using this, but they are, all right? You may also be confused on why this even exists. There are lots of characters that you're probably not aware of that currently exist. For example, how do you know when a file ends? There's a special character for telling you when a file ends. Your enter key is a special character, all right? There's a lot of special characters that you don't know exist that do exist in the programming world. If you want to learn more about that, again, watch 100 Days of RootKit, right? Watch 100 Days of RootKit where we teach you literally everything you're going to learn if you go to college for a computer science degree and more, and then you can get certified and we'll get you a job, right? So if you are doing Call of Duty, you're going to have to copy and paste some of that stuff in here and it will work just fine. All right, so once you've set up your video game title, then you're pretty much ready to run. Let me go ahead and open up Steam. Don't add me on Steam. I'm not going to accept you. Don't add me on Discord. I'm not going to accept you. All right, we're not friends, right? Unless you're a massive volunteer or contributor, then we can talk. But if not, don't add me, right? Let's go ahead and go to CSGO here. Are you kidding me? All right, well, we're going to stall for like 2 seconds while this installs. It will be very, very quick. All right. So let's go ahead and answer some questions that are coming in. Please ask questions right now because we got to stall for some time right now. You should probably move all those variables to a config.json file. I agree. Right now, I have them right here on purpose to get people to look at and see the Python code. Again, it's not meant for ease of use. Like if you want something that's easier to use, there's Lunar out there, and you can also use anyone's modded Aimbot because lots of people have joined and improved the Aimbot. All right. This again is purposely left in a more basic, crappier state per se, because it's meant for you to dive in, start learning a little bit of programming, and then be able to modify it pretty easily. The COD title is not full because YouTube doesn't allow me to copy. Yeah, you don't need to copy and paste all of it. If you are playing COD, you will know. You will know when you see it, all right? Is there a way to set up this just to highlight what the bot? Yes. That is actually a better implementation overall than having it as an aimbot, especially if you don't have as fast of a GPU, or if you only have a CPU. You can modify this so it doesn't, or keep your caps lock off so it doesn't auto aim, and you can just turn on visuals and just have it so you have the visuals on like a second monitor or something, and that way you can just use it to pretty much tell you where people are, which is totally a use case for it. There have been a lot of requests for an overlay system to have this overlay. I've been thinking about maybe adding a second file or more additions maybe to this for the overlay system, because I think that would be pretty fun for people. especially to like be able to see, mess with, and modify on top of. So maybe that will be in the future. Or if you want, if you are into programming, you can make those mods yourself and submit a pull request, and we may or may not accept it. We are, again, a nonprofit. We are completely volunteer driven. So if you do volunteer any of your time, you will earn the champion role. These champions are not like associated with us per se. They're all people that have volunteered their time for our nonprofit and receive the champion role. What does the champion role mean? What do you get with it? If you go to programming help, we have some pinned stuff on how to become a champion, which we are currently looking for more champions specifically for video editing. Can you please open this? I guess not. Additionally, champions get perks, and I guess this is not going to want to open either. Champions also get perks. So if you look at the perks here for byte or kilobyte members, champions get these perks automatically. So they get access to the priority channels, the supporter chat channels. They have their voice enabled. They pretty much get everything, right? Almost everything that a paid person would. So if you have no money, just use your time, right? And then you get all the paid perks. Is there a problem if I use V8 or V6? No problem. You can use V8 and V6. That's just fine. Both will work just fine. The V8 and V6 will be slightly slower. So if you have a higher end GPU, it's actually recommended that you use those because you can handle it. So it'll be better overall. So let's load up CSGO here. Will you go over? Yes, I will go over how to switch models. I'll actually go over that here in just a second since we're loading up main, and main is the easiest one to switch models. All right, sweet. We're here in CSGO, ready to not play against people. We're gonna go against bots. Dust 2, harmless bots, easiest for testing. Let's go ahead and start that up, and we're gonna have that in the background. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute that so we don't have to listen to it over and over again. Get sick of that song. Yes, I'll show you how to change the caps lock to another keybind. And then unfortunately, not in programming, I do basic stuff, Python. All right, let us continue here on our journey. So once you modify the video game title, which we're using Counter-Strike here, then we're pretty much ready to go. So if we pull up our guide here, we have the game open, so we're ready to continue. So make sure you have PowerShell or command prompt open. This run section, you have to run through all these steps every single time that you close your terminal. Did I close my terminal? I think I already did close the terminal. You have to run through these steps every single time. So you need to open up PowerShell. You need to type in cd space, then drag and drop the full file or folder right onto this and press enter so you can get into that folder, because you got to get into that folder. All right. Once you're inside of that folder, so we dragged and dropped, we press enter, then we're inside of that folder. So now we can execute the main.py file. So if we type in Python, which is the language that we want to execute it in because it's written in Python, we can do python.main.py and press enter, and whammo bammo, it will work. All right, it will take a second at first because it's loading everything up. Then it will find your game. It will pull up your game automatically, so you don't need to click on your game. As you can see here, it will pull it up automatically, and it will start running. Now, it may be a little slow at first, and as you can see, let me go back here, it's downloading some stuff. This is downloading the pre-made YOLO V5 model from Ultralytics directly. All right, so this may take a second on your first run. This will not happen again after your first run. So it's just going to take a second here. Oh, great. I messed it up because I moved. Do not move your window if you have it in windowed mode, because it kind of saves the position it was first opened in, and we'll look at that. So now that I moved this, it is messed up. So we're going to restart it once it's done. Hopefully all the screen recording isn't I think it's affecting it pretty heavily right now, so it's taking a little longer than normal. Anytime now. All right, I'm gonna answer some questions while it takes its sweet, sweet time. It says where to download. I think you need to mess with the path and system. Yes. If you install Python and you forget to click that box that I talked about, that little checkbox on the installation screen, you will have to then go adding stuff to your path. We have videos and we link to it in the README. S is one of the lowest end. There is another one. There is Nano, which is going to be N, which is going to be potentially faster, right? Potentially faster. Doesn't need to be in windowed mode. Does not need to be in windowed mode. According to one of our champions, I forget, I don't think they remembered either, but apparently I did not know this was a thing, but apparently if you do it in full screen mode and you do it in windowed mode, one is supposed to be faster than the other. I haven't personally tested myself. All right, this is taking forever. Okay, now it's working. So you can see here, I have a 3080 and we're getting around 25 to, okay, it's glitching out. Why is it being this way? There, I'm gonna stop it. You can also press Control C to forcefully stop it a bunch if you want. So Control C at the same time on your keyboard. I'm gonna go ahead and rerun this. Again, I don't think it's very happy with me streaming and doing this at the same time. On my 2080, it would just straight up crash my computer. All right, there we go. So we're getting 35 right now. You'll see it fluctuate when you're in game. So we're in game right now. If I as you can see, if I aim at people, so right now, there we go. It's at 15 because it will fluctuate. To make this even better, don't stream, all right? Me streaming is making it worse because anything that's going to be intensive on your GPU will slow down the bot, which means also changing your graphics settings in game to a lower setting will help it out. So you can see everything's normal and people assume that it's not working. It is working. You can see the CPS. So I'm going to get around 15 to 20 changes or corrections every second. To turn it on, I just need to press caps lock, and you can see right now, there we go. It's auto aiming. And as you can see, it's at 15. It's not very good. And it's overshooting a little bit. So you can see there, it's like wiggling back and forth. Wiggling back and forth means that it's overshooting. So I just turned it off. Let me go here and turn this off. If it's overshooting like that, it means that you need to go modify the configuration settings, specifically that movement amp we talked about earlier. So if we go here and go to movement amp, this you need to change. And again, I highly recommend changing it by 0.1 increments every time. This one, I'm pretty sure it will work better if we just do it at 0.5. So let's just do 0.5 and let's go ahead and rerun it. And this should not be as bouncy. And again, you can go in and modify the mouse movement logic to fit you better, right? Or fit your needs better. So if this will start, there we go. Now it's not overshooting as much. It kind of just goes and locks on the person. That's kind of overshooting a little bit right there. You know, we get still some of the wiggling, but it's not as bad, right? It's not as bad. And as you can see, sometimes when you have two people next to each other, can I get a... We added some logic to help fix it, but they will bounce back and forth between each other. So that is some improvements you can do to yours, right? That is some improvements you can do to yours. Oh, my mouse is moving. You see my mouse moving right there? And let me turn that off. All right. Let me turn this off. All right. What questions do you guys have before we show how to use a larger or smaller model on the main one? On the main one. So Python. If you type in Python in the command prompt and it opens the Microsoft Store, it means you forgot to check that box that I talked about. So follow the settings on the video we have here for Python is not a recognized internal. Follow this video. You need to follow those steps in order to stop that from happening. Windowed full screen works best for most people. All right, do windowed full screen. All of my testing, I do it in windowed full screen because I have a 4K monitor, so I run this at 1080p like this. V8 will be slower. V8 will be slower than the V5, but V8 will be more accurate if you can use those models, the larger models. And we showed that earlier on the stream. Again, this is all being recorded, so you can check that out. There are graphs from the people that made it that will tell you about its speeds and accuracy. 1050 would be screaming. Yeah. Yeah, don't do this. Look, I'm not getting the best results right now because we're doing a lot of stuff visually right now. TensorRT is going to be twice as fast. So when we run the TensorRT one, it's going to be twice as fast. This is the slowest one. This is the slowest, worst one. So even though it's the slowest, worst one, it is the easiest to change. So if you want to change the quick key, you can change this right here to change the quick key. By default, it's going to be Q. If we look through here, we added lots of comments. The comments are going to be the green things. If you have this open in normal notepad, so let's open this with notepad. It will look like this. Anything that you see a pound sign or the hashtag in front of is a comment, and it will tell you what the item below is going to do for you, right? It will tell you what the item below is going to do for you. If you want the pretty pictures or visuals like I have right here, you can download Visual Studio Code, as it says right here, or you can download Atom, or you can download Notepad++. Anything will work to give you the pretty visuals. So if we look through here, around line, here we go, line 98, right? Line 98. This is where it's loading up the model. This is the setup for pulling from the interweb and downloading the latest and greatest model directly from Ultralytics, all right? And it's going to be in a pre-trained form. So if you want a faster one that is less accurate, you can change the S here to the N, all right? How do you know it's supposed to be an N? Well, if you go to their repo again, let's pull it back up. I think I actually have it open right here. If you pull it back up, you can see these are all the pre-trained models they have, right? By default, they can analyze up to 640 pixels by 640 pixels. We downgraded this to 320 by 320 so you can get better, faster results. N is the smallest one they have. And these are all the larger ones. As you can see, there are a lot of larger ones. We are using one of the worst ones they have because it works really well for most people, all right? So if you have a 3080 or higher end card, you may want to use medium instead. Medium will give you more accurate results. It will not be faster, it will be slower, but it will give you more accurate results. It's literally that easy when you're using the main version of it. It's more difficult for the other ones. So if I rerun this, you're going to see it's going to auto, I guess I should do nano because it's really going to chug on that one. So if I rerun this, you're going to see it's going to re-download the machine learning model because it's going to download the nano version of it now. So we're going to see the loading bar unless it already downloaded it. All right. So now it's loading up and now it's working. Let me move this up. There we go. And looks like we're getting slightly faster speeds. All right. Not insanely faster, but slightly faster than we did with small. All right. The improvements with nano, to be honest, speed-wise, aren't that great, and the accuracy really goes downhill fast. All right, so let's see. For main, I think that was about everything for main we're going to cover. So I think we're going to go on to onnx next. One last thing for the headshot stuff. So if you don't know where this stuff is being used or how to modify it, if you're using Visual Studio Code and you are getting into programming, I highly recommend you install Copilot. All right, GitHub Copilot, install it, use it. It costs like $10 a month, and you can ask it questions about the code. Also, you can use any of the GPT models. It doesn't need to be ChatGPT. You can copy this code and ask it questions about this code. All right. So, for example, for the headshot here, if you want to ask it, you can ask it potentially questions about the headshot. So it's already trying to autofill my stuff here. How do you modify the headshot mode? Well, it's trying its hardest, all right? It's trying its hard. That's not the right stuff we want at all, but it's trying its hardest. Additionally, you can just do Control F to find where headshot mode is being used in the code. And if we look down below, you'll see headshot mode is being used right here. All right. So if headshot mode is being used, it's doing this weird math, right? What is this weird math? This weird math is basically how much you should modify your vertical movement. So again, if you're aiming and by default is going to the center of the box, aka center of mass, and you want to move upward a little bit, you will modify this. All right. So you will change this multiplier to be more. So if 0.38 is like right here, again, this is all tuned onto CSGO by default. So if you're doing another game and you want headshots, you need to modify this. So by default, 3.8 works well for CSGO. You may need to increase or decrease it depending on the game that you're playing and where it is aiming at. Alrighty, Cursor IDE is better. It's free and uses GPT-4 and Copilot X. Copilot X isn't out yet right now. And GPT-4 is only out for specific people. Is Cursor, is it, someone sent me this before, I think. Their site does not have very much information. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. Maybe it wasn't Cursor. I got another recommendation. I'm currently doing a testing out Copilot for a month, and I've been very satisfied with it. So I know that JetBeans has an alternative, so I might check out that one also. But yeah, so that's modifying headshots. Now, a lot of people ask about caps locks, so let's go through that real quick. So if we look in the code here, there should be a comment somewhere in regards to the movement. So moving the mouse right here. Moving the mouse, this is what moves the mouse. Here's your if statement. So it will never move the mouse unless this logic is true. What is this logic? Well, it makes absolutely no sense to most people. This is the hex value of your caps lock key. So effectively, it's looking whether your caps lock is turned on or whether your caps lock is turned off. If you want to change the key, you just change the hex value here. You can go look up what hex value is what key. I don't even know. All right, I just look it up every time. That's what most devs do anyways. All right, devs are the pinnacle of being lazy and looking things up for your job. All right, so if you like being lazy and you just want to look things up for your job 24/7 and call it good, watch 100 Days of RootKit. I'll show you. I'll show you exactly how to get certified and then get a job. Everything you need to know. All right, so if you want to change this, so this logic by default will work perfectly for a caps lock, number lock, and what's the other toggle? Any key that's on your keyboard that's toggleable by default. If you want to change it to a non-toggleable key, like let's say the Z key or the P key or something else, you will need to modify this logic to handle it, because by default, the get state will not work. Effectively, you can use a separate key. So I could put like the P key in here. It will only work while I hold down the P key though. All right. So it will not work like a toggleable switch. It will only work as like a hold down only. So if you hold down that key, then it will work. And once you let go of the key, like the P key, it will stop working. If you want it to be toggleable, you will need to modify this code because we're basically being lazy and hijacking the toggleable dimension of the caps key that already exists. All right. Again, this is a part of you get the base code here. We want you to learn and modify this. All right. We want you to learn and modify it. Don't get too scared from this stuff. I'm not asking you to modify and change this stuff. I'm just saying, hey, this is a key on your keyboard. Look up how to get the hex value of the key on the keyboard. All right. I know you can do that. Even if you don't know programming, you can Google. All right. I know you Googled your way through school. All right. You know how to Google. All right. I Googled my way through school. Just Google it. All right. Cheat. All right. Did school not teach you anything about how you should be cheating to be successful? All right. Cheat for the love of God. Do what school taught you to do. All right. If I change the hex key with a variable and set it to change, yes, that will work fine. So if you, there we go. So if you make a variable later on, I don't know, say like that, and just say ASDF and make this a configurable thing, yeah, that will work just fine. That will work just fine. You go and undo all of that. Too much undo. All right. I'm just going to look through the questions real quick, and then we're going to move on to onnx. I know a lot of you guys want onnx. All right. We got to go through every little thing that a lot of people have questions for. I have 1440p. Yeah, you need to run your games in 1080. You need to run your games in 1080 for it to work. You can do it at the higher resolution. It will just slow it down, but also remember this by default, we have it so if you have a 1080p monitor, all right, it's going to be always looking in a, I want this black. It will always be looking in a 320 by 320 square in the center. So if you have a larger monitor, like a 1440p monitor, it will still work, but the square effectively will be looking at a smaller amount of size in the center of your screen, all right? And if you have a 4K monitor like me and you want to run your games at 4K, again, this is only an issue if you run at the full dimensions. You can do that, but effectively, now your square, I guess I can't easily delete those, but now the square is like super small, right? Super small compared to 1080p. So you get more coverage with 1080p. By default, these are 640p. We actively shrink them down, which is right somewhere around here. Maybe we don't shrink this one. Maybe this one runs. That would be an issue because that would be slowing this down. No, maybe it's in this right here. All right, so this is where we actively shrink down the size. If you want it to be at 650, effectively, if you change the screenshot height to if you change this to 640 and 640, it will work for 640, right? Also know it could potentially be more buggy at 640 because now the screen is bigger, that it's analyzing, and it could be capturing your hands more or your player more, which means you may get more buggy movement. To fix that, you should implement a mask system in this game, right? A mask system in this game. That would be a fun challenge for you to go after, right? We don't have this in here because that is something that you can go about doing yourself. If you've never made a mask before, this is a great time to learn, right? Great time to learn. Set the game, run 10p, IntelliSense, really hard to read. Type the window title, but it doesn't. If it doesn't exist, then run that example code that I pinned to figure out what the title is called and then copy from that. What does DNN mean? DNN means deep neural network. if I enable it, it should be enabled by default because technically this is a deep neural network. The end result for any of these options, just try it. You know, who knows? Just try it, see what happens, right? Test it, test every little bit, you know, mess with it, have fun with it, all right? If you don't know what something does, just mess with it. Mouse buttons as well. Yes, you can have it so it goes off mouse buttons. Like, you know, I've mouse buttons here on the side. You could modify it so it turns on when you hold down those mouse buttons, or it toggles with them. Mouse button 2 is, or right mouse button is 002, right? No clue, just Google it. If it says it is, then probably, and go about testing it. I don't know. You change it in the game. So when you have the game open, you know, go to your settings and then change in video, change the resolution to 1080. So that will be 1920 by 1080. All right, let's continue here with the onnx setup, right? The onnx setup. Now, let us pull our repo here. So very easy to get the basic one up and running. Onnx and the tensorrt one have extra steps and are slightly more difficult. The onnx one isn't too difficult, right? Isn't too difficult. For most people, if you're running the CPU version, just run this line of code and you're done. If you want the CPU only version, just run that line of code and you're done. That's it, and you're ready to go. All right. If you have a NVIDIA GPU or an AMD one, all right, we have some extra steps for you to utilize. So to look up the onnx stuff, go and Google onnx runtime. And if you click on the first link that shows up, should look very familiar to PyTorch. This is the setup process for onnx, right? So we're going to go in here and we're going to say we're on Windows. We're doing Python, x64. All of you guys are x64, all right? You're not running anything else, all right? So just do x64. If you have an NVIDIA GPU, click on CUDA. And this is the line of code you need to run. onnx runtime tac GPU. So pip install onnx runtime tac GPU. If you have an AMD GPU, you can't use the ROCm, because again, it doesn't have compatibility. A recent champion of ours figured out that apparently Windows DirectML works for AMD GPUs. So if you click on DirectML, you can now utilize onnx, right? So this is the pip install command you need to run here. I think both of them are literally right here. Yeah, so the NVIDIA one is going to be pip install onnx runtime GPU, and the DirectML is going to be pip install onnx runtime DirectML. Right, literally this format right here, but replace onnx runtime with either the GPU or the DirectML versions of these right here to right here, right? Depending on if you have an AMD or an NVIDIA card, please make sure you install the correct one, right? Make sure you install the correct one. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. If you are using the onnx NVIDIA one, I think you have one more step. Let me look here. Yes, you have one more step if you're using the NVIDIA onnx one, right? So if you're using the NVIDIA onnx one, you need to go look up CuPy and go to installation. And in here, you need to install it based off the CUDA toolkit versions, right? So you already have this done, which is all the work. So if we scroll down, it's actually quite a little bit down. I think you might also have to install, I don't think you do actually for this one. I think it's just for tensorrt. So down here, you need to choose the one for the version that you have. You installed one that was between 11.2 and 11.8. So this is the line that you need. you do not have an Arch or an ARM based system, you are definitely using x64. I know it says 86 here, but it's 8664, right? It's for 64-bit computing. So copy this line of code and paste it into the terminal so it installs. Then you're ready to go, right? So NVIDIA users have one extra step, right? NVIDIA users have one extra step. Once you have that done, then you're pretty much ready to run it. So if we clear this and we do Python main and we want onnx NVIDIA, I don't know why it's called NVIDIA copy. Sorry, right? NVIDIA copy, we press enter, then we can run the onnx NVIDIA copy version. Let's see if it starts up. I think I have everything installed on my computer already. We'll see. If it errors out, then I need to go about installing those items. It's taking a sweet time. Hopefully we don't crash from it. Oh, there we go. It's running. All right. It's working. It's working. All right. So let's go and load back into the game and let's see the performance difference between the onnx and the default one, right? So we're in game right now and the CPS output should hopefully get below the game screen here soon. It's taking its sweet time. I don't want to move the window because it's going to mess it up. There we go. As you can see, we're in game and we're getting almost twice as fast results as we were before. And here it is live. Now I have it, you know, auto aiming for me right now. And as you can see, like it is twice as fast, basically what we're getting before. Like I'm not joking, the onnx one and the tensorrt one are way faster, All right, no hands. All right, I'm just moving my guy back and forth. All right, it's auto aiming. All right, so as you can see, it's kind of bouncing back and forth because again, if I press Q right now, you'll see that it automatically quits, right? So Q is automatically quit the bot. So if we pull up the code again, wherever it is, the settings are unique for every single file. Like I said before, each file is completely independent of each other. So any changes you make on this file do not affect any of the other files. So for the onnx one, if you want to mess around with the movement amp, there you go, mess around with this. It doesn't affect any of the other files. Also, if you mess with the other files, then copy all of the lines for the configuration here and paste it, overwriting all of the ones in the other file. All right. But it's pretty much that easy to get onnx up and running. Any questions with that? Chat went kind of silent there for the onnx run through. I don't know if you guys were just all like super following along for that one. Let me pull up the Discord because I haven't looked at that. Man, no one said anything in the events chat on the Discord. So, yeah, yes, for real. Yeah, everyone went silent. I think all just following along. Yeah, but I'm not. Hey, I ain't lying. When I say it's faster, it's way faster. Like the main one is the easiest to get set up. All right, it really is. And it's the easiest one to modify because you can easily switch this line here on 98 to nano or to small or to medium. All right, it's really easy to switch between, but it's very, very slow. onnx is going to be way faster, right? Way faster, but you're going to lose the ability here. So on the same line 98, you're going to see it's slightly different, right? You're going to lose the ability to quickly modify what version you're on. So this we've provided to you in the repo. So this is our own export of the onnx model. If you want a nano version or a medium version of the onnx model, you need to convert basically the original model to the onnx model. What does that mean? Come on, you've used Word before in Google Sheets. You know how you like need to convert the doc file from Word to be compatible with Sheets, or you know, anytime you've ever had to, like, I don't know, maybe you download an MP3 or a WAV file and you need to convert it to an MP3. It's basically the exact same thing, right? You got to convert it from one format to the other format. There are pre-built tools for doing this, right? So it's not hard for you to do at all. You just need to run the code that needs to be ran in order to execute it. Will it be better if you modify it to aim for the center of mass rather than the headshot? Both work equally. Both work equally. It just is just different on whether you're pointing here or you're pointing here. But regardless, it works the same, because if you look here for the mouse movement, Control F, mouse. Let's go and find the comment where we say moving the mouse. So this is moving the mouse. And moving the mouse, you can see, is doing some math here. All right, it's doing some this mouse move thing times that movement amp. So that's how much extra movement you're going to do. So if you look at this mouse move thing, it was made from all this crap. Inside of this crap, you're going to see the headshot offset. All right, the headshot offset is always being calculated whether you want headshots or not. It's always being calculated. So if you don't want a headshot, or if you do want a headshot, it doesn't matter. It's not going to slow it down or speed it up. It's always being calculated every single time when you're trying to move the mouse. When I do pip install runtime GPU, it freezes and throws up an accept. Then you're going to have to read what that is and potentially solve it yourself, because accept is general. That's just saying like, my computer crashed. Cool. Why did it crash? Like, I need the error screen. I need to see like exactly what's going on. You can post it into the chat, the full output of it. If you are getting errors like this, right? Could not open files. You didn't follow the instructions correctly. You didn't CD into the directory, right? Because what, come on, you guys. I know you guys can read this stuff, all right? It says right here, no such file or directory, right? And it will say exists afterwards. What does that mean? It means literally this file does not exist. You're trying to make me do something when a file doesn't exist. All right, that means you're not in the right directory, because if you download the folder and you CD into the folder correctly, the file is in there. All right, the file is in there. You can visually see it. So this means you didn't CD. If you're getting errors like what some people do, let me see in here. They'll say that a module, there we go, that no module named something, right? Module not found error, no module named. This means you didn't follow the instructions correctly, right? This means you didn't run the pip install correctly, or the pip install requirements directory, because if you run that, this will be installed, because this is a part of the quote unquote mods, all right? So if you follow the instructions and they run successfully, you won't get these issues, right? But usually this is caused by people that are going to skip the instructions and just try to run it. Come on, man. It's like running a game without installing the mods first and wondering why you can't connect to the server, or if you do connect to the server, like why everything looks weird. Like, you got to install the mods first, all right? You got to install the mods first. Are you recording right now? Yes, I am recording right now. Thanks doing this. I've got mine working a few days ago. Appreciate the help from the community. Yep. All right. Any other questions for the onnx one? If not, we're going to get to tensorrt, which is the most complicated one to set up. By most complicated, like, to be honest, it's not complicated. It's just a lot of extra steps. It's not like you have to do anything weird. It's mostly just installing two things and then dragging and dropping files, right? It's not like we have to go through a whole strenuous options and blah, blah, blah. You'll see, I guess, here in a second, all right? Is this a joke, Mickey? Is this a joke? I just talked about this. I just talked about this like 2 seconds ago. It means you didn't follow the instructions. I don't know if you're joking with me or not. If not, rewatch the stream afterwards, because we address this. All right. And we're going to cut this up into a smaller YouTube video. So that way, those of you that don't want to watch a god-awfully long 1 hour stream, I guess fucking 2 hours, holy shit, stream, you don't have to. All right, let's move on to the tensorrt one. All right, the grand finale. So let's move on to the grand finale here. tensorrt. This only works for people with NVIDIA GPUs. If you do not have an NVIDIA GPU, this is not going to work for you. Do not try this. All right, it's not going to work at all. This requires some additional steps. tensorrt is a enterprise level library from NVIDIA themselves. A lot of machine learning engineers that do this for a job don't really even know how to use tensorrt to begin with. So setting up tensorrt is a feat within itself. So put that on your resume, all right? Because it is quite impressive. I mean, using onnx is quite impressive. That is a high-end thing. tensorrt is even more impressive, all right? How impressive is it? Well, if you look up the docs for tensorrt, you're going to see yourself real time start to get cancer, all right? Because the docs are garbage, all right? Here are the docs. Do they look fun? No. If we look at the API reference, does this look fun and informative? No. Does this look like gibberish to you? Yeah. I'm a professional dev. This looks like gibberish to me too, all right? Doesn't matter whether you're new or not, all right? It looks like gibberish. There's very little context in how to use it, and even when you click on it, there's very little context. This one actually has probably the most documentation I've seen on any of these functions, but there's usually little context also in regards to how to utilize this, all right? So how do we go about installing this? The first thing is follow the breadcrumb trail we left you in the different versions file, right? In the different versions file. Do you recommend using YOLO V8 model? Upgrading? No, I don't, unless you have a high-end GPU. Answer that question like 20 times in this stream. No, do not use V8 unless you have a high-end GPU. That is the only time it's going to be good. If you have a 3080, a 4080, or a 4090, that's the only times I would recommend you taking the time to use V8. 3090 Ti, yes, then you should use V8. You will see a massive performance boost. Yeah, you're fine. I know that you just joined. Yeah, that's why we're recording this anyway, so when people have questions, we'll refer to them this video. And we're going to cut it up so it's not as god-awfully long as it is right now. Okay, so let us continue. Different versions here. Tensor setup help. All right, so we throw you some breadcrumbs here. This constantly goes out of sync, all right, on the dock because tensorrt is updated very frequently. It's a very actively worked on library by NVIDIA directly. It's used in a lot of big projects. It's extremely fast and efficient. It is the creme de la creme. It's the best thing you can use pretty much when you're using an NVIDIA GPU when it comes to any sort of machine learning, all right? In my testing, the screenshot engine was my bottleneck. I think it was mostly because of my CPU. For you, you may get different results. I know some people, like one of our Patreon members says he's getting like, with the AI running, like up to 200 corrections per second, which I've never gotten that high. That's pretty wild, all right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to make an account and go to this link to get the tensorrt 8.5 GA update 2, or whatever's the latest one. Right? So if you click on this link right here, you're going to click on the download now button. It's going to have you sign in, right? So you need to go ahead and sign in. If you don't have an account, make an NVIDIA account, right? Make an NVIDIA account. I don't think I have an NVIDIA account on this one. So I got to make an account right now. So we're going to go do join. All right, we're gonna go ahead and join, enter our email. All right, now we gotta give it a password. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a password. Keep your prying eyes out of here. guys will just look too intently. All right, I am human. What is this? Are you kidding me? Click on each image with a dog in the t-shirt. Are you kidding me? Is that a dog or a cat? Okay, create an account. There we go. So then it will have you verify your email. So just go to your email, verify it. Let me load up my email. Verify it. Come on. Send me the email. Why is this not immediate? Why is it taking time? Have you spoken about the AMG GPUs? Yes. Yes. Go back and watch the onnx part, which was timekeeping wise, since we won't have the video up soon. If you go to, once we're done with this and you go back and rewatch the stream, because it is recorded and it's going to be on YouTube right after this ends, go to like 1 minute or 1 hour, like 20 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And that should be around where we ran through the AMD onnx setup. Did it go my spam? NVIDIA, what are you doing? Why is it taking so long? What are you doing, buddy? Has been sent. Please click the email to continue. Oh, crap. I did the wrong email. Gosh darn it. This email already exists. This value is already... Are you kidding me? Okay, I just messed up like 1,000 things. Give me 1 second, you guys. Holy crap. All right, that was kind of embarrassing. We're going to forget that even happened. It wants me to type in some profile information. So let me go ahead and drop that in real quick. Because again, this is enterprise level stuff. No random Joe just uses this stuff. So they collect this information because they usually want to know statistically who's using it corporation wise. So I don't know, put yourself some fancy title in here, all right? Industry, where is education at? I don't even think they have education in here. I could just do other. Max 3. Use this. There we go. All right. Setup process, a little more into, oh my gosh. I said other. What organization? Holy crap. I have this set up on my other account, all right? So then you're going to get the screen like this. Just click on join now. And there you go. Now you've joined, pretty much just once you have made an account, you're logged in and you're joined, just close out of this, go back here and click on the tensorrt link again. Is it's open source? Yes. Everything here is open source. Yeah, Tensor, yeah, if it works, if you download it, then it will not work right away. You have to do some more setup. So once we click on download, click on the latest one, so version 8, and click on I agree. And you're going to see here that I guess 8.5 GA update 2 is still the latest and greatest. So go ahead and do that. All right. GA stands for general access. So this is going to be the normal one. EA is for early access. So that's going to be more buggy. So just get this. So if there is a new version of this out, like only download the GA version because that's going to be the most stable one. So go ahead and click on that. You're going to see a lot of options here, right? Find the one for you. All right, none of these say Windows, so you're not going to click on any of these. These are for Windows. So click on the one that's applicable to you. You did not install CUDA. Let me zoom in. You did not install CUDA 10.2. Don't click on this. You installed 11.7, right? Most likely. So click on this. It will download this file. All right. Go in and open up this file. And when it's done downloading, it's rather large because there's a lot of stuff in it. Any day now. There we go. It's going to have a bunch of folders in here. This is the fun part, except we're going to leave it right here and we're going to go back to this. We need to also download cuDNN. So if we open that second link here, right, we need to install this. So go click on the link. You're going to see download cuDNN. All right, click on that. If you're already logged in and have an account, this should be fine. You're going to click on I agree and do the latest and greatest one for 11.x. Because again, you didn't install 12. You downloaded 11.7 most likely. All right, X just means any of those 11 versions. All right, don't do the 12 one. You don't have the 12 one. So we're going to click on that, and then right here we have Windows. So we're going to go ahead and install the Windows one. So go and click on that. Any day. This one should be just an exe. So if we open this one up, any day now, taking its sweet, sweet time. Why? Why are we stuck on this? Are you kidding me? Open up, for the love of God. Okay, it just wants to misbehave. So while that tries to figure out its crisis, let's go ahead and finish up with the... Oh, hello there. Nice of you to join the party. Did it open in a bunch? Yeah, it did. All right. So for the cuDNN one, you're going to have a folder inside of it. Go and click in there. And there's going to be a bunch of stuff in here. Right? And an include file. So both of these are going to be very similar processes. I thought the cuDNN one was just an installer. I guess not. Right? This is what makes it more complicated. Not because it's complicated, because we're just going to drag and drop these folders, but knowing where you need to go. So these folders, the bin, the lib, and the include for the cuDNN, and then inside of here, the lib folder and the, I guess we can move over the bin folder. I think it's just the lib folder that we need. We'll move over all of them. Need to be basically moved over. So what do I mean by that? If we open up our Windows Explorer here, right, we got to go find where NVIDIA Toolkit is installed, which was one of the pre-requirement items. Remember, you had to install 11.7. Unless you're using the onnx version, then you did 11.6. Now we need to go to where it installed it. So where did it install it? Go to this PC, go to my disk, go to users, go to your user. Then in here, go find, actually, wrong place, sorry. Go back to my disk, go to program files, and in here, look for NVIDIA, right? You're gonna have most likely two folders in here from NVIDIA. One called NVIDIA Corporation, the other one GPU Computing Toolkit. We need to go into the folder called NVIDIA GPU Toolkit. So let's open that up. It will have a folder called CUDA. Let's go into that folder. Another one called, in this case, 11.6. I guess that's what I have right now on my computer. You guys should have 11.7, right? You guys should have 11.7. And now we are where we need to be. pretty much for now, it's drag and drop. So for the cuDNN, you're going to drag the bin folder over and then drop it in this bin folder. It's going to ask if you want to replace a bunch of files. Yes, replace any files it wants to replace. Most likely it's not going to replace anything. It's just going to add a bunch of new files. For me, it's going to ask to replace because I already have done this process. So these are already in here. But drag and drop bin over, drag and drop include over, drag and drop lib over for the cuDNN. Then you're done with that. So click on X. All right. After that, same-ish process here for the tensorrt one. Click on bin, drag and drop it over. Then go to include, drag and drop include over, and then go to lib and drag and drop that over. Those are the only 3 files you need to do here, right? Is bin, include, and lib. I'm pretty sure you don't even need to do bin. I'm pretty sure you just need to do lib and include. All right. Once you do that, you're almost done. One last step, right? One last step. You need to go into the Python folder, and there's going to be a bunch of different files here, right? These files are pretty much exactly the same, except for one key part. You'll see one is CP 36, 37, 38, 39, 310. What are those? Those are the Python versions. So this only supports Python 3.6 through 3.10. Do you see 3.11 in there? Because I don't. There's a reason why we say don't install 3.11. This is another one of those reasons. This will not work with 3.11. This will only work with 3.10, all right, as the latest version. So we need to install this file in Python, all right, in Python. So how do we go about doing this? So remember how before we use pip install to grab mods basically from a server? This is pretty much the installed mod already on our computer. We just need to install it locally. So the easiest way to go about doing this is go to your desktop. All right, go to your desktop, drag and drop this onto your desktop, all right? Pull up your command prompt. Let's go cd, then we'll type in pip install space, drag and drop the file on top and press enter. All right, and then you can install it. I already have it installed, so it stopped, but that's the last step, right? That's the last step. Any questions on that before we run it, right? Before we run it. Again, like I said, not really like a hard process. It's just like, how are you supposed to know those folders exist and there's dragging and dropping? If you're brand new, you're not, all right? It's meant for more experienced people or people that are watching like 100 Days of RootKit and they can figure it out, because some of the people that have been watching it were only able to run the main.py at first, but they have been watching through religiously 100 Days of RootKit, and now they were able to easily figure out how to run tensorrt themselves without any setup help, right? Without any setup help. All right, so let us continue here. So we're pretty much done with the install. So let's go ahead and run it. I'm pretty experienced with computers and programming, still had some trouble. The GitHub README helped me a lot. Yes, the GitHub README will help you a lot if you read through it exactly, all right? We want you to run this. We don't want to have to help you, all right? So we tried to make the README as detailed as possible, but look, I'm a programmer. I'm not a UI person, so I know the README doesn't look the prettiest. I'm sorry. What can I say? All right. If you want to make the README prettier, go ahead, make the README prettier, make a pull request, and if it's good, we'll accept it and you'll get the champion role. All right. That easy. Also, if I didn't mention, all champions get, so we are up on Credly. So all champions will get a Credly cert issued to them which this is the same platform that Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, etc. all issue their certs on. So we will issue an active volunteer cert that you can add to your LinkedIn profile or other various things like that. That's also where we issue our comp sci cert badges and stuff. All right, let us continue on. Let's run this bad boy, all right? Let's run this bad boy. Let's see what peak performance looks like. So we open up this. We're ready now to do Python and then main, and we want to run the tensorrt GPU version. If we press enter, it will take a second to load up, and then our game will pop up, and look at that, we get a nice little error. Fun. All right, so this file doesn't exist. Let me see. Where is the... Honestly, I think my stuff is out of date. So let me go ahead and pull real quick. Git stash pull. Yeah. Wait a second. This is on a different, this is the desktop version. Yeah, it's called this. It's called YOLO v5 s320 half.engine. Not quite sure why it's looking for just something called YOLO v5 s engine. So that is a bug. I guess the people that are running it are just fixing that. So that's another candidate for a pull request if you want to update it. So I'm going to show for normal people who have just Notepad how to fix this in Notepad. Literally find the file, tensorrt, right click, open with Notepad. All right, we need to change this file. So where we're loading it in, which is going to be right here, where we're loading it in. It also tells you the file number or the line number right here on line 97 is what you need to edit. Notepad's not going to tell you what line it is. So open it in something like Visual Studio Code. So we just need to change this file name from YOLO v5s to whatever it's called. Where's the Aimbot? All right, let's click, copy, and paste. There we go. Let's rerun it. And now it should work. Knock on wood. It's loading in the background. All right, look at that. And it's working. Look at that. And we're getting spontaneously higher result. Look at that. Is that not higher? That's a little bit higher than we were getting with onnx, right? A little bit higher than we were getting with onnx. All right, now this is where DXCam is basically screwing you over. DXCam is the best screenshot engine we could find quickly. There are some new ones that we've became aware of that will be better, but DXCam will basically kind of cache your current screen state. So right now, when I don't move my mouse, it's going to be very, very fast. But when I move my mouse, you're going to see the screenshotting basically tanks. This again is because of how DXCam works, and DXCam, the screenshotting engine, is personally my bottleneck. If you have a better CPU than me, I am pretty confident that this will be faster for you. Right? Not pretty confident, I know it will be because other people have reported their results. It's way faster. So if we go ahead and load into game here, all right, we can see that we're getting pretty consistently right around 30, right around 30 corrections per second. And there you go. You can see it's working. I pressed caps lock. And as you can see, the higher CPS you have, the smoother it looks and the less buggy it is. Of course, we have the bouncing because, again, each file is independent. So even though we changed the amp, the movement amp on our other files, it doesn't change it on this one. So we need to go in and change this one ourselves. So it's pretty much that easy. It should just auto work. If you follow all these steps, it will work for you just this easily. You shouldn't run into any issues at all. It's as long as you follow the instructions and you follow along with all of this setup. And I'm going to press Q to end. Alrighty. How do you change DXCam? Great question. Before we used MSS, but MSS was even slower than DXCam. If you want to change the screenshot engine, you will need to modify this code right here. So this is creating the DXCam camera, and then from this camera, this is us starting the camera. All right. And then from starting the camera later on, if you just do a Control F, you can see this is where we're getting the screenshot. So those are the places you're going to need to modify if you want to use a different screenshot system. The only thing for the different screenshot systems, if you are new to taking screenshots or doing photo stuff in programming, all images are RGB, right? Some are RGBA, so you'll get the alpha channel. So I think the MSS one was RGB only. So when we use DXCam also gets the alpha channel. So there's basically 4 channels instead of 3. The machine learning model works on 3 channels. So things that are just RGB will auto work. All right. So if you're using something with 4 channels, then you will need to do this weird logic that we're doing here, which is basically reducing the channel size from 4 to 3. If whatever screenshotting engine you're using is already just 3, then you can remove this logic here and you don't need it. And technically that will give you a speed up too. You'll also notice that throughout everything we do, we have half here and there's half in the name here, and the onnx model is also half. What does that mean? Floating point variable sizes on your computer are typically 32 to 64 bits large in size, which is great for accuracy, but terrible for speed. So in order to get a speed improvement on these, we've halved all of the floating point sizes. So they're usually around 16.4 bits in size when you use .half. So you will get speed improvements from that. Does this reduce the zone from 320 to... No, it shouldn't. Yeah, this is in 320 also. Or are you asking if that will speed it up? Yes, that will speed it up. But it will make what you capture worse. So you totally can make these smaller. If you're using the main.py one, making it smaller is super easy. Just change this so it's smaller. These both need to be the exact same dimension, and you can only go up to 640 max on these, right? Because that's how large the original model can handle data. When you're using onnx or you're using the tensorrt version, you need to manually export them or convert the original model into the .onnx version or the .engine version, which I guess I'll show you guys here in a second how to do. We make them all 320, so they are faster. You have to have these on the onnx and the tensor one. You have to have them 320 unless you re-export the model in a different size. It can be up to 640. So those of you that have high-end GPUs that can run the tensorrt version, you should be able to easily run a 640 version of this without much reduction in the speed. But again, you can also do smaller size if you would like. Additionally, for other types of games or applications, because again, this doesn't just work for games, this works for anything on your computer. You can screenshot, screen record, and then analyze. All right. So this you can set up. So instead of just taking screenshots of the center, maybe it takes screenshots of like a bar in your top right and a bar below and a bar over here. And it then, tells you like if certain icons are showing up or etc. Like you can build upon this to be smarter if you would like. Right now, it's just very basic. It just moves your mouse, right? It just moves your mouse. Yes, this is being recorded by YouTube, so this will be live immediately after. Thanks, Sunny. All right, so are there any other questions? If not, I'll just go over quickly how to go about This is actually a good question right here in the Discord. I'm going to go show you how to export the models. That's the last thing I think we'll go over, and then we'll be pretty much done. This is a great question. All right. This will affect you. I guess I should have told you guys this on your installing your Python. On one of the screens, when you're installing Python, there will be a screen with a checkbox there for allowing for longer file names. Click that one, please. Click that one, please, because correcting this is not very fun, right? Not very fun. Effectively, by default, your Windows operating system will only allow you to have file lengths that includes the path to the file of 255 characters in length. To allow for larger ones, there's an option you have to change, and it's you have to go into your registry for doing that. All right, so it's not fun. Just started the 100 days, man, hands down, best course out there. That's what I'm saying. Make sure you guys go watch the 100 Days of RootKit and learn how to be certified. At the beginning, it's not the most fun because we're just doing some, I call it basic math, but it's not really even math. It's just Venn diagrams effectively with weird symbols that we'll teach you through. But that's the only like math part. The rest is no math. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and show if you take this error again, Google a lot of this stuff. If you take this error and Google it, I guess the only difficult part is knowing what to Google on here. Pretty much just the first beginning part with none of your own personal stuff is what you would Google. So this path and directory that this person put out here, don't include that in your Google search because that's going to be different for every person. So if we Google that, you'll see that you get a bunch of results here. Now, the easiest one, to be honest, the easiest way to fix this is going to be uninstall Python, reinstall it, and make sure you click that checkbox towards the end. It's like, I don't think it's at the first slide. I think it's like on the second or third, like next button. And it has an option there, or actually, no, I think it's after it installs completely. After it installs completely, there's going to be an option there for allowing for longer file lengths. Click on this. This is not helpful. This just takes you to a YouTube video. Is this one even good? Oh, don't play an ad. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Oh, dang. Okay, this is going through the registry version. So basically, don't mess up these settings. This is important for you not to mess up. If you type in registry and it will bring up this thing called registry editor on your computer, you're going to have admin perms to modify this. Don't mess this up. This is like the worst thing to mess up for your computer. This can actually really mess up your computer if you mess anything up in here. When people talk about hacks and exploits and how they, are deep into their computer, it means they've gone and messed with your Windows registry. This is the golden place of where malware likes to hide or modify things. Do not let anything just modify your registry. All right. Everything technically kind of modifies your registry a little bit, but be careful on this, right? Be careful on this. I'm not going to watch that video, so I'm going to click the next one because I forget the exact path here for the registry. Please just bring it up. Why is this? And scroll. Here we go. So we need to go into local computer policy, computer configuration, administrative templates, system, file system, and then enable NTFS long paths. I'll explain what each one of these are. So if we go in here, this will look pretty much the same for every person because these are just the default Windows like layout of all the deep Windows settings. Like this is the deep Windows settings, all right? So you're going to see something in here called HKey local machine. Go ahead and open that up. inside of here, you're going to see configuration. Wait, this is the local computer policy. Hold on a second. Why does this look different? What is going on here? Local group, sorry. This has the group policy editor. Group, all right, edit group policy editor. All right, never mind. We're not going to, you can modify it via the registry also. I guess this is using this version or the local group policy editor. So if you type in group policy, you'll see a box here with edit group policy. So let's go in here instead. So in here, we're going to go to local computer policy, and then we're going to go to computer configurations. And then in here, you're going to see an administrative template section here. We're going to just double click on that so it opens up, and you're going to see system in here. All right, double click on that, and you're going to see lots of files. Find the one that says file system. So right here, file systems. And then right here, you're going to have an option here called enable Win32 long paths, right? Enable Win32 long paths. What does this mean? It means longer file names, right? Longer file names. So mine's already enabled. So if you double click on this, you're going to get a checkbox here for disable, enable, and not configured. Click on enable, then click on apply, and then click on OK if the box doesn't go away immediately. That's pretty much it. That's all you have to do. There you go. Don't mess with anything else here because this can go no bueno for your computer very, very quick. All right. Like I said, the easier way would be to just uninstall and reinstall Python, right? And just make sure you have that checkbox set. So that's how to fix your problem nomgart. Yes, it will be available for replay. If I reinstall Python, do I need to reinstall the requirement stuff? Potentially, but only the pip install stuff. Everything else, all the NVIDIA setup, the toolkit install, the cuDN, like all that stuff, no, you don't need to do that. But for the Python stuff, potentially. I can't remember off the top of my head how aggressive the uninstall is for Python, but if it removes all of the mods that you install, per se, I'm calling them mods, but they're not called, well, I guess you could call them mods, they're modules, then you will have to reinstall everything. But that should be pretty easy. There's only 2 install lines. Let's talk about, was it enable Win32 paths? Yes, Win32 long paths, yes. Click on that and then set it to enabled. It will be disabled by default. If it's already enabled, then you're good. All right, you shouldn't run into that error. Let's talk about how to export these models. All right, so that way you can make your own onnx and engine ones. All right, I believe in our README we have the line that we used. So let me go ahead and pull up our README real quick. So inside right here, this is the line that we used for exporting and creating this stuff. So how I created all this, so right here, kind of explain it here. Sometimes you will need to remake the .engine model. Sometimes it's buggy and won't work on your GPU. It works on mine because it's kind of GPU specific. So it may be just normal for you to have to re-export it. If you do, visit the YOLO v5 repo. All right, this is the one that we looked at earlier. Let me go and close all these tabs. And you need to download the entire thing. You're going to download the same way by clicking on this, click on download zip, and then you downloaded it. All right, why do you need to download it? Because they have all of the code and the logic in order to run the execute file or the export file correctly. So we need their code in order to run the the export file in there. So you can you just run that in order to do an export. This is slow. It can take up to 20 minutes and it literally looks like your computer froze. All right. Don't worry, it's running. There's just not really any visual feedback, and it can take up to 20 minutes. All right. So do it like, and then go watch some Netflix or YouTube, or like leave your computer for a little bit, because it's going to basically bog your computer down. You cannot watch Netflix, YouTube, whatever on your computer at the same time you're doing this. It's going to destroy your computer. So do this, walk away from your computer and do something else for a little bit. Note, you will need to use the provided or downloaded version of YOLO v5 weights, aka the PT file. We use the small model, but with tensorrt, you should be able to use a larger model. So we'll show you how to download the larger models. So once you download this, I think I just already installed it. Not installed it, download it. Same thing, you can just drag and drop it to your desktop. And that's pretty much all you need to do. So we drag and dropped it to the desktop. We can go ahead and cd space into this folder and press enter. And now we're inside this folder. This is where we need to be in order to run the export. Again, don't expect, unless you're watching this video, I don't expect new people that have never programmed before in order to follow these steps, because it's, again, these are the advanced setup stuff. So when you're inside this folder, you're pretty much ready to go, because the export.py file is right here. You may need to run pip install -r requirements.txt in order to install any additional libraries you need for YOLO v5. So again, that would just be pip install -r requirements. Whoops, gosh, I keep going back. You may need to run this in order to install any additional things they may require, but you may be good, right? You may be good. The last step is you need the original model, right? You need the original YOLO v5 model that you want to convert. Again, this is effectively the same as you converting a JPEG to a PNG, or a WAV file to an MP3 file, all right? Or a doc file to a Google Sheets file, all right? It's the same idea. So first, find the model here that you want. So maybe you want a larger model like medium. We'll go in and click on that. When you do, it's going to download the model to your computer. So you can see right here, I've just downloaded YOLO v5 m.pt, right? PT is the trained model, right? It's PT stands for PyTorch, right? That's what everyone uses to make these, all right? So we're going to go ahead and open it up. Once you choose the one that you want, again, don't use the medium one if you have a slower GPU. Use the small one. Go ahead and take this and drag and drop it into the YOLO v5 master from Utalytics, or whatever their name is. So if we do an ls now, you're going to see that in here. Oh, here it is, right here at the bottom. It's inside of our folder now, and you can also view it if you just open this up, and you'll see it's right here in our folder. Now we're pretty much ready to convert this to anything we want. If you want to see what options are available for you, because export has a lot. So if we do Python export.py and press enter, does it list? Oh crap, what is it doing? Attack H. Let's do attack H and see. I don't think it, oh, here we go. So there's a lot of different options you can utilize in order to modify this, all right? You can modify data, weights, image size. The image size here is important, right? This is what we are modifying. There's the device. Please use your CUDA device. You can use a CPU for exporting. It may take longer than 20 minutes. Please use the CPU device. There's half, so you can see this is for half precision export. So if you want a more precise calculation, don't run half. You also need to modify the code if you are doing that. Some of these options don't matter to you. So this only matters, this matters overall. This is only good for TF. This is only good for TorchScript. This is only good for Core ML, which we're not using, and TF, which you're not using. TF is going to be TensorFlow. onnx. So these are only going to be applicable if you're exporting an onnx function, and then there's some other stuff for tensorrt. Whatever, we've already figured this out for you, and this is all the different versions you can export to. All right. tensorrt, OpenVino, onnx, TorchScript, etc., etc. If we go back to our repo here, you're going to see we already have the line here that we used, right? That we used. So let me go ahead and, so PyExport weights is the file that you want. So this is going to be, small is what we used. We just downloaded medium. So we would change this to an M. Include is all of the exports you want. This is a space delimited list of all of the exports you want. Engine is PyTorch. Onyx is Onyx. You can do both of them at the same time if you do engine space Onyx. All right. So this is what you want to export. Next, we're doing half. So that way we're using half precision floating points. So it runs faster. You don't need this, but it will run slower. You will also need to modify our code because everything we do in our code is going to be based off half point precision. Next, this is important if you want to modify the image size for the Onyx and the TensorRT ones. We're forcing this to be 320 by 320. All right. All of these models by default, at least these ones, allow for 640 by 640 at most. So you can change this to 640 to 640 if you want it to be the largest possible. Just know it's going to run a lot slower. If you want it to be even faster per se, you could shrink this down even smaller. It's best if you just do halves, right? Don't just pull a random number out. Try to keep to halves. So 320 is half of 640 because it's most optimal when you do that. If you want to make it even faster, you should shrink this by half. So 320 by divided by 2, which is going to be, I'm a programmer, so I can do math, right? Didn't use the calculator at all, right? 160. So 160 by 160 is most likely what you would want to do if you want it smaller. They also have way larger models. So this is a larger nano model, a larger small model, a larger medium model. So if you want even larger, you can do larger. All right, you can do larger. Just expect slower results. All right, you can see right here the speeds. They have some speed metrics. So nano from their testing is about twice as fast as small, and medium is about twice as slow as small. All right, and you can see here these ones are going to be way slower. So nano on here is going to be slower than small, but faster than medium at the smaller size. All right. So again, only use those if you have a higher end GPU. And then device is what device do you want to run these computations on for converting the file. When you say device 0, that will try to use your GPU, the first GPU you have. So if you have multiple GPUs, you can use all of your GPUs to help accelerate this. If you only have one, then just put in 0. If you have no GPU, then put in CPU instead. And bam. There you go. That's how you go about exporting this. Let me pull up the chat. As you can see, this is why I get annoyed on explaining all this to people. We've been talking here for 2.5, 3 hours just to go through all of this. All right. I wrote all the README instructions for a reason and said Onyx and TensorRT are for advanced people only for a reason, because there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Let's see. What are the tax seg like YOLO 5 tax seg? I didn't see that. I don't know. I don't see, unless those are not pre-trained models. I don't see anything here in regards to attack seg version, unless those are the unless you're just looking to another. Okay, so the models folder here does not include the models. All right, these do not include any of the models. These are the layout of the model. So if you want to know how or what the layout is of their neural network, the actual thing, this is it right here. This is the actual layout of the neural network for this model, all right? So you can look at this, copy it, clone it on your own, mess with it. You can retrain this on your own data. This is it right here. If you're confused on all of that, watch 100 Days of RootKit so you can get trained up. Also, we're going to do some machine learning classes to show how you can start your machine learning journey. Under the segmentation paragraph. Oh, those are going to be segmentation models. So there are several different types of machine learning models. Segmentations are different. So there's image classification, there's object detection, and there's image segmentation. So image classification is the most basic thing. I say, look at this graph, and you say, that's not a graph. Or maybe you say, yes, this is a graph, all right? You don't know anything about this. You don't know if this is a license plate in here. You don't know if these are trees on here. All you know is this overall a graph or not a graph? Or is this a dog or not a dog, all right? It's overall just that one image. What is it? So it's very basic. So if you have, let me just pull up the image. Object detection versus image classification versus image segmentation. There's a really good Google image here for it. There we go. So this is it from the Kaggle website. So this, read it through. It's a really good article. All right. This is effectively what it is. You give it an image for image classification. It's just one idea of what that image is. Even if there are multiple items in that image, it doesn't care. It's only going to give you one description of it. Now, object detection will give you multiple items. So YOLO is an object detection model. So it will try to draw boxes around every single thing it finds. And it can identify multiple things. All right, multiple things in the same image. Classification, only one thing in one image. Object detection, multiple things in one image. Segmentation is the upgrade to object detection. Your GPUs are not fast enough for real-time gameplay to really do segmentation with YOLO, all right? So what segmentation is going to be is this, all right? So if YOLO object detection is just drawing a box, segmentation is giving you a detailed outline around that item, right? Around that item. So it can be super, super useful. Here it is right here also for more segmentation. So this can be more useful for other things. For example, you want to work at Tesla. Tesla's self-driving cars use segmentation because you got to know exactly where the road ends and the road doesn't end, or exactly where the lines are, or exactly where other cars are. All right. So they use a lot of segmentation in their cars. And they may mix it with some object detection because it is faster than segmentation. But yeah, that's the difference. You don't need to use segmentation in your Aimbot. But when consumer GPUs get better, segmentation is going to be massive, right? Massive. Because what do current really powerful hacks do? They do the, what is it called? The game hack EBS. Is it EBS? ABS? God, I'm going to try to get it. They effectively allow you to do something like segmentation, right? But again, the powerful thing for AI cheats is they look like you're streaming on Twitch, and there's not really a way around it. And regardless, if there were patches put in place to stop the mouse movements, it still doesn't stop you from potentially doing overlays or other things like that. Because bam, wham, it's overlaid. But like I said, Riot Games and the Vanguard system is probably one of the most advanced ones out there currently. I forget what the other one's called, because there is one other big one that a lot of people ask about in the Discord. Those are like the only two that are high speed. Why? It's high speed for good and bad reasons. Because they're installing a rootkit on your computer. What is a rootkit? It hooks into your operating system's underlying functions and changes it. which is not good at all unless you trust them. It's the same thing antivirus systems do on your systems, and it's the same thing the worst malware in the world tries to do to your computer. It tries to hook into the underlying operating system's functions and alter them. So what do I mean by that? If I were to open up this file right here and view it in Notepad, this is what it should normally look like. But if I have a rootkit on your machine, I can effectively have it so even though this information is on your computer and you can typically view it, I will instead make it so Windows will only say something like, I don't know, fuck you. All right. So you can change the underlying Windows functionality so that way the person on the computer no longer has complete control of their computer. Antivirus systems already do this on your computer because that's how they go about doing their job. Vanguard, it's kind of sketchy because again, do you trust Riot Games? Do you trust other people that are making systems like this, which I'm totally forgetting? If you guys know it, please put it in the chat. I forget what the other one's called. Vanguard and Riot Games are owned by Chinese. All right. I'm a proud U.S. citizen and very anti the Chinese government parties. All right. They like to watch you. Whether you want to believe it or not, I don't really care. They like to watch you more than the U.S. Gov. So do you trust it? Do you trust that they're being honest? The U.S. Gov doesn't. TikTok isn't even a rootkit, but they don't even trust that, right? So it's up to you. Again, that's what pretty much everything when it comes to computers come to is your trust. So if you trust it or if you don't care, then it doesn't matter. Go ahead and install it. But it is, that put aside, it is the best thing out there because when you do that, you're able to analyze someone's computer more intensely without any withdrawals or fallbacks. That's why, for example, the mouse movements no longer work because they modify your Windows underlying systems, the kernel, effectively, to ignore software mouse movements. All right? They just straight up ignore it. There are ways around it, again, like we talked about. But yeah, that is probably one of the primary ways to go about stopping these types of cheats. All right? Because the one in that one video that you guys talk about and post a bunch in here that went viral and stuff is great. It's a good start, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done. All right? There's still a lot more that needs to be done because it's not perfect. The biggest issue is it costs a lot of money. Even if the system was free, it still costs a lot of money because machine learning, as you've seen right now through this, is very intensive on your GPU. Someone needs to pay for that. GPUs are not cheap, even for large corporations. They have to pay hefty prices, and they're not running your consumer grade ones. They're running the big boy ones that cost tens of thousands of dollars. They're not cheap. So why would I want to do that, take on that cost, all of that electricity costs, the maintenance costs, when what's out there right now maybe does meh. I mean, they barely put any effort in the current anti-cheat systems, all right? So, again, it's not that it can't be done. It's basically because the cost is too expensive for most of these companies, so they're unwilling to do it until the cost becomes cheaper. And they can't really run, to a certain extent, these machine learning anti-cheat methods on your computer because your computer can barely run machine learning as it is. So the only true alternative right now would be using something like the Vanguard system, which is a rootkit, which can analyze your computer more in depth to see if you are doing something a little fishy that you're not supposed to be doing. When I do the command to create the YOLO v5.engine, it says some deprecated warnings about CUDA. Warnings, don't worry about them. If it doesn't crash or end anything, then you're good. If it's just warnings, then you can just ignore it. You don't need to worry about enabling it. If it's working, then I would show an example of it, but it would really mess up the stream because it's very, very intensive. to run this. Any other questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have before we end this stream? And again, it's all recorded. It's going to be on YouTube. I'm going to download this, or actually I have been recording it with Streamlabs here. So I'm going to chop it up so it's not as god-awfully long and make it into probably like 3 different videos for each one of the setups. And then post it on YouTube. So there's smaller versions of it because no one wants to watch a 20-minute setup guide, right? Was links against... Yeah, that's fine. As long as it's running and it's working, then you should be fine. Again, I would show an example, but the only thing I would say, the reason why it would do that is if you didn't use the latest version of cuDNN and like move it over, because that means you had 8.5 installed on your computer to begin with. Thanks for the follow, Stallwins. Any other questions we have for this? Again, for the people that are on Twitch, this is all being recorded on YouTube, so you can rewatch it because we're at pretty much the end here. So you can rewatch it on our channel, and we're going to cut it up later so it's smaller tidbits. So you can run this. Let me see if there's any questions here. Any other questions? I'm going to linger for like 30 seconds to a minute. If there are no other questions, then we're going to call it good. And hopefully I see you guys at 100 Days of RootKit or go back and rewatch. Look, while the 100 Days of RootKit event is going on, if you're starting from day 1 right now, great. Every single Sunday is chill Q&A. We don't teach anything new. We just answer any questions from the last 80 days. So jump on any Sunday, even if you're starting out right now, and ask your questions. Ask your questions. We will answer them. We will help you. Additionally, you can go to the 100 Days of RootKit chat here and ask your questions in here. Oh, Codium was the other one. You can ask your questions in here and we will answer them. All right? We will answer them. Anyone participating in 100 Days of RootKit will have the cert exam fees waived, right? For 1 year. You'll have them waived for 1 year so you can retake it for one cert. So for one exam. So if you fail it and you need to retake it, you'll have to pay for retaking the exam. I'm on day 3. Hey, keep chugging along. Keep chugging along, right? Get through the foundations. Look, the foundations are important. Get through them. They end around day 40. A little after day 40. After that is when we get to the programming fun, right? Stick through it. It's going to help when it comes to the programming. And you need to know the foundations or the fundamentals in order to progress forward as a dev quickly and outpace any of your peers. You will be smarter than most college graduates if you watch and learn everything in the 100 Days of RootKit stream. Like, that's not even a question. That's just a fact. The bar in college is extremely low. There's a reason why no one wants to hire college grads, because they're garbage. They're hot doo-doo, right? If you get the DXCam object no attribute is error, just restart the bot. Restart it. It will work eventually. If not, try running the game in windowed mode. All right. What does this mean? Great question. Let me pull it up. So on every single one of these, if you look on the DXCam setup, which is at the beginning part, right here. So we create the DXCam. When we create it, we have to tell it the region we want to take screenshots of. That's why I was saying, if you start up your game and you end up moving your game window after the bot has started, you have to restart the bot because it will no longer take screenshots correctly. So the camera start is you actually starting the camera. So think of it like this. Line 80 is you at a manufacturing plant manufacturing a brand new camera for an iPhone. I don't know, whatever camera you want to manufacture. You just manufactured it. It's clean right off the presses. Once you've manufactured it, to actually start it, you got to press the start button, the turn on button, all right? So this is pressing it and saying turn on and start recording. So this is going to turn on and start recording, and you can tell it how fast or the max capacity of the speed it should be recording at. So this by default will record up to 120 frames a second, and that's it. It won't go any faster, all right? Don't go in there and put 1,000, all right? Because first of all, your game's not even running at 1,000. Second of all, your monitor is not running at 1,000. So don't go any higher than this. I would recommend keep it at 120 to 144 at a minimum. And if you have a 144 hertz monitor, you can increase it up to double what your monitor frame rate is in order for optimal performance. And then video mode just means it will continuously keep streaming the data. Why? Because through my testing, this is a blocking action for the frames. So when you do about twice as much, it will give you the most optimal speed in regards to its blocking action. So I guess the only thing we didn't do is go over the lines of code. I don't know if you guys want me to do that, but we can go over exactly how all of the bot works. This is obviously a lot different than the original video, because the original code in the original video was way simpler. It worked, but it wasn't very fast. This one is pretty much hyper optimized, and you get pretty much 4 times the speeds and the results on this one than you do the others. What other questions do you guys have? Or do you want me to go through all the code? I see a yes here for going through the code. All right, we'll go through the code. I think we went over this one last time, but I didn't record it, so I'm mad. So let's go ahead and go over all this. All right. Again, this is the same for pretty much every single file. There's just a couple of changes here and there. If you want, that's actually a great learning point. If you go file to file here and look at the little differences between them, you can learn potentially a good amount. So in general, machine learning is actually really easy. All right, that's the dirty little secret that no one wants you to know. Machine learning is super easy, all right? Thanks for the sub on YouTube, Manuel. It's really easy. What it comes down to is, do you have a bunch of data, and is the data labeled correctly? For example, you want to be able to identify characters in a game. Do you have a bunch of pictures of players in a game, and did you label them? What do I mean by label them? Literally, you need to go image by image, where's my pen? And draw a box around each person and say, that is a person. And maybe around like some loot and say, that is some loot. And you need to do this for potentially tens of thousands of images, right? There are some ways to get around that, and I'll talk about that a little bit here in a second, but you need lots of data, all right? There are whole entire services out there you can utilize to make basically people in third world countries at ungodly low rates do all this hard manual labor for you, all right? Hey, what a beautiful world we're in. That's all I gotta say, right? Amazon has a service you can utilize for this. It's a labeling service, AWS labeling service. Yeah, I think it's in SageMaker here. I forget what it's called exactly, but you can look into it. Basically, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can pay for other people to do it, and it will be pretty much pennies on the dollar for each one to be done. Or just use something that's pre-built, right? This is why companies that collect lots of data about you, from you, and et cetera, why OpenAI and all these other image generation companies are getting bad press in the news for stealing data, is because you need lots of data. And why not just steal it? All right? Who cares? All right? Oh, the people are mad. Okay, sue me, whatever. Here's $500. Let me move on with my day. I'm making billions. All right? You just need data. The rest is easy. In a GPU. Because effectively, your computer is doing all of the hard work. You're making effectively a small human brain that's completely empty. And you're saying, learn. Go do the thing. It's really easy. You just make the brain. It's a couple lines of code and then learn. That's a gross simplification, but effectively that's all it is at the end of the day. So the first part here is going to be importing all those libraries that you installed. So those libraries or mods that I called them earlier, you can think of them as mods. So those are all from the requirements.txt file. When you install all of these, we are then using them right here. So this is how you bring them in, because by default, your game, just like a normal game that you play, your game loads up. It doesn't have any mods in it. Even though you installed the mods, you still have to turn them on. So this is us turning on all of them effectively. This is our main function. So this is the main code that's going to run. At first, we're going to set all of our settings. So these are the various settings like I talked about earlier. This is for your video game title. So what video game or screen you want to analyze. This doesn't need to be a video game. This could be your Chrome browser. This could be OBS, because I know some people for Overwatch are getting around Overwatch blocking the video feed by using OBS and then putting this to OBS, so that way it will just work in Overwatch. This, don't mess with unless you know what you're doing. This is going to be for the machine learning bot in screenshotting. This you need to mess with. This is for shifting the box to the right or to the left. And this is going to be, it says a right shift, but you can also do it to the left by putting in a negative value. So if you are in a third person world, again, like we talked about, it's a square. If you have your hands in that square or your character is in that square, it will see, oh, hands, those are a part of a human. It will label them as a human. And so your aiming will auto drift to the side or it will go straight down. So you need to modify this potentially in order to avoid that issue. All right. Again, you can put positive and you can put negative values in here. That will positive by default will shift it to the right, and negatives will shift it to the left. So it's totally up to you guys. 150 usually works for most people, right? Is there a method to automatically recognize that the game that I'm playing without changing it all the time, the game's... Yes. There's code that we've posted in the Discord. We're not going to add it to the main file here because that would remove the point, because we're non-profit org all about you learning how to program. So we're going to force you to program whether you like it or not. There is some code in here that you can use to pretty much then modify this. So when you start this, instead of when you start this code, you can basically make it so it lists all the windows you have open, and you can effectively just choose which one you want to analyze and then analyze it that way. Movement amp is how fast your mouse movements are. So if you see that you're overshooting, you may want to modify this. All right. It can, this is just decimal point values. So you can go all the way down to 0. You can do 1, you can do 20, you can do 0.6, you can do whatever you want. You can include decimal values. Don't go to 20, for the love of God. The default will work for most people, but you may need to modify this, right? Again, modify it by 0.1 increments. So change it to 7 and then to 6 and see what works best for you. What are the applications of learning Python? Is it mostly for software? No, I don't care what job you have, whether you want to be a biologist, a plumber, a technician, I don't care. Learn programming, all right? Because you can use stuff like Python to automate boring, crappy tasks, you do something that's very repetitious at your job every single day. It can be automated if it's on a computer. If it's not on a computer, it can't be automated. This screenshot engine that we use here can be used to take a screenshot of your web browser. Maybe you do a lot of things on the web browser, like auto posting, moving things constantly. It's the same couple button clicks. You can use this to move the mouse around, click on things on your web browser, and get work done for you automatically. All right, there's a lot more you can do with this. All right, and you should look at our other bots for New World and the clicker bot that we have. And there's non-machine learning ways in there of how you can find things. You effectively take screenshots of things you want to find, add it to the code, and it will try to click those items. All right, and then you can even go further and hook up things like GPT to this to have it auto make. Pretty much unlimited. If your imagination can think it up, you can do it. So next is the quick key. You can change this. Q doesn't work for a lot of people. I just have it Q as default. So just change this to whatever you want. When you press this key, it will automatically quit. Doesn't matter if it's caps or not. Headshot mode, this will angle slightly up. So if you don't want it to be trying to aim for their head, or you're missing a lot of shots because it's trying to aim for their head, change this to false so it goes for the body. CPS, this is going to be displaying that counter in the terminal that we see all the time. So, all right, I guess I don't have it here. If you don't want to see that, then turn this off. It will technically make your performance slightly faster if you turn this off. It will be slightly faster. Not by a lot, but it will be slightly faster. Visuals, if you want to see what the bot sees. So let's go ahead and turn this on so we can show it off. So I'm going to say Python main. So if you turn on visuals, you'll get a secondary box that pops up that will show what the bot sees. Anytime it wants to show up, it shows up when the bot actually starts. So there we go. So this is what the bot sees right now in real time. So if I re-choose, look, you can see right there. All right, you can see the boxes being around a human, and you can actually see right there the percentage. It says that it's 50% confident that's a human. All right, so you can see visually in real time what it sees, right? And you can see the boxes that it draws. So it's automatically going to try to go to the middle of that box, but with the headshot, it will try to move up. This, again, YOLO doesn't just do humans. It does a lot of different items. So if you want it to detect more, you can. And I'll show you where we limit it here in a second. So the visuals can be really fun. Especially the visuals are really handy if you notice it's drifting. So if you notice it's moving downward constantly, or to the right or the left, you don't know why, then pull up the visuals and see if your hand is in there. So if you saw for a second my hand is in there, and it's actually identifying my hand as something. All right, we don't know what because it goes so quickly. But actually, let me turn it on. There we go. You can see I have the aimbot on right now. So when I switch to my hands, you're going to see it's auto aiming weirdly right now. Let me go right here. Because it's finding my hands in that box for a quick second. All right. So this is one of the buggy mechanics of it. How do you counteract it? Well, the easiest way is stop being lazy. Just turn off the aimbot, switch your weapons, and then turn it back on. If you want to be a real pro about this and not a little script kiddie noob, all right, don't keep it on all the time. Play like normal. When you see you're about to get into a fight, press caps lock real quick, shoot them, turn it off. Caps lock quick, shoot them, turn it off, right? You just got to be quick and inconspicuous about it. So no one really tells, and it's not really up for too long. See, I just snapped to that guy because I just turned it on real quick. Snap to that one, snap to this one. All right, turn it off, turn it on. All right, it's not meant to be on all the time. So let's go ahead and press Q to quit, and you're going to see it turns off. All right, let's go and turn off the visuals. So next part on here, let's go and see some questions. On Fortnite, a shift is pointless. If I set it to 100 to 150, it still tracks the main character. yeah, the only way is to bring up that visual box and see. And again, it's not meant to be on all of the time. For Fortnite, I'm pretty sure you have to move it to the left. So you want to put a negative value in there, because I'm pretty sure it looks like your left on the stream, but it's my right. I'm pretty sure your gun is on the right side. I don't know. You have to mess with it. Is there a quick notes version of this tutorial? There will be later on YouTube. What's the best aim sensitivity for games like CSGO, Valorant? Mess around, figure it out. Everything here is tuned for CSGO on my computer. So your computer is different, so mess around with stuff and see. For me, confidence is always 35%. That should work for a lot of games. You can mess with it. I know some of these are 0.5, some are 35. I think I recently changed it to 35, or maybe I changed it to 50, because the lower you get this, the more false positives you're going to get. The higher it is, you may miss some actual people. Let's go and move on. This next section is for selecting the correct game window. All right, so this video game title you put here before, this is basically going to look for that window and select the first window it finds. So that's why I said if you have multiple windows that are called counter, this is going to be potentially confused, because all it's doing is very dumb logic of finding the first match and going with it. All right. If you don't set that up properly, you will get an error. We will not help you. Set the window size. All right. Set the window size. We've already talked about this more than enough in ways to figure it out. COD people, you're going to need to go do the extra steps. Will select the window, so you don't need to click on your game. It will automatically bring your game up. How does it do that? This right here. Right? So after it finds the window, it will automatically bring it up. Next, this is where it's going to screenshot. So if you have multiple monitors, you may need to change the monitors here. One is going to be your primary monitor, right? If you don't have it on your primary monitor, you're going to need to change this to which monitor you have. Next is how it's going to, where it's going to capture your screenshots, right? So not much you need to modify here, but you can if you want. Next is starting the screenshot engine. Is this, okay, is this even, this code's not even used, so I don't even know why it's here. This can be pretty much removed. I don't know why that's even there. This is doing the screenshotting stuff. This must have been from a pull request I approved, and I guess didn't realize that's no longer needed. This is the new screenshotting logic. So this left, right, bottom, all right, it's just calculating where it should be taking screenshots of your game. So this is going to put it in a tuple called region, and it's going to feed it to the camera, so the camera knows where to take screenshots. It's going to print out this error if the camera for some reason can't be set up. And then this will start taking screenshots of your screen, this line right here. All right, so next, this is going to calculate the center of your screenshotting area, right? So it needs to know where the center of your screen is so it can move your mouse correctly. This is just setting up forced garbage collection because there can be some memory runaway issues. This is more of an advanced thing, so don't mess with it, right? Just let it be. If you remove the forced garbage collection stuff, have a lot of RAM. That's all I gotta say. Or else the aimbot's going to crash, because Python's not the best at garbage collection, right? Again, advanced things, so don't worry too much about it. Next, this is for the main. This is us loading up the model, all right? Torch Hub is basically an online store, effectively, for auto downloading and setting up machine learning models. There's a bunch of these things out there that you can use today. Even if you don't know how to program in Python, you can use machine learning very easily. If you Google Torch Hub, I didn't want to go to this site. I want to go to this one. You're going to see it's basically a crappy looking game store of all of the different machine learning models that you can use. So they have something called YOLO P. We're using YOLO V5. There's stuff in here for doing speech to text. There's stuff in here for doing text to speech, and it's all free. And guess what? A lot of these took tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to make and produce, and you can download them for free. Additionally, there's another site called Hugging Face that you can go look at, which is 100% free. You can go steal things from Meta or Google or Microsoft, their machine learning models, and start using them locally on your computer for 100% free. Things like translation models, things like speech to text, text to speech, all right? They're all free and available for you to use, and it's very little setup, and a lot of them you already installed Python. So it's really easy for you to set up a lot of these. They have example code that you can pretty much copy and paste. Here we go. You copy, paste this, bam. Now you can run this clip model here, which effectively you give it a picture and it will tell you what's in that picture, or it will try to describe you what's in that picture. It's very easy, right? So this is effectively doing the same thing. It's just getting YOLO V5. Why raise exception in TAD returning none and printing? For this, so the bot will not work if the screenshot camera is not working. So if the screenshot camera is not working, we're just going to stop. This will immediately stop the program from running because it can't run if it can't see anything. So that's why this is going on here. I believe there's I think you got fair. I was wondering, I don't want to get a weird snap that instantly goes to the head. I'll mess around with the values. Yeah, mess around with the values. I'll show you here in a second where the mouse movement logic is. Okay, so this loads up the model. This is just getting a bunch of variables from the model so we can manipulate them. You can see here, Stride and PT we don't even use. We only use names. Names are all the things that you can potentially YOLO V5 can identify. So if we do print names here and do exit, and then we rerun this, exit will exit our game right here. So pretty much it's going to print the names and then exit. Failed to activate game window. Come on. Is this one running? It's bugging out. There we go. We did modify main, right? I just saved it. Screen area. Oh. Never mind. Maybe that code was being used and I was just being paranoid earlier. Let me undo. I guess this is being used. Let's go back right here. Print names, exit, and rerun. Bring up the game. There we go. It's going to print now all the names here in a second, and then it's going to end the bot. There we go. So these are all the things YOLO V5 by default can identify, right? Persons, humanoid people are item number 0, which will make sense here in a second when you see the logic of us using 0. It can identify bicycles, cars, motorcycles, planes, buses, trucks, boats, traffic lights, zebras, bears, surfboards, bananas, sandwiches, potted plants, cell phones, scissors, teddy bears, a bunch of crap. All right, it can do a bunch of crap. This is also what makes YOLO V5 kind of slow, and you can actually make it faster if you just remove all this crap, right? And you can make it technically a smaller, more optimized model. We're not going to really do that. We're going to have classes to show you how you can go about doing that. If you do that, please make a pull request and in this customs folder, submit your model and we'll include it so other people can use your model and you'll get all the credit and everything, all right? So you can make this potentially a lot more potent. We're just using it very basic right now for persons. So let's go ahead and look here. Again, half is going to make it half the size for the floating point values, so it runs even faster, right? This is an optimization thing. Colors is for making colors for drawing on, so when we had the visuals on and it showed the boxes, this is the colors of those squares. So this is just automatically making a bunch of colors for you. Don't really worry about this too much. So it's an exception. It's bad practice to return none, instead raising exception, but it's your code. You can do what you want. The way we're doing it is just fine. This is not any production ready code. This is for learning from. Let's see here. I had CUDA. I think you guys are just chatting. When I put CD and drag and drop the file, CMA after work, keep the stream. Yes, the stream will be saved. You can go look that part up that we talked about. I keep getting this error from utils. You will need to reinstall stuff for that. All right, I'm going to continue on. So next is going into the actual main loop. Now, this is another optimization technique, right? So don't really mess with it. You can remove it and bring everything down, but it is helping with performance. And then we have this last mid coordinate. So this is basically tracking where we last moved the mouse. So there is a little bit of built-in smoothing, right? There is a little bit of built-in smoothing for you. This is for looping the bot forever until you press the Q key or whatever key you want to automatically quit the bot. Now you can change this like you saw in the settings above. It's totally up to you. Additionally, if you want to do something more malicious, this is exactly how you'd go about potentially making a keyboard logger. This is effectively keyboard logging logic, right? Because it's sitting silently in the background, listening and soaking in all the key presses you're doing. So you can use this to do more fun, malicious things if you want. Next is getting a screenshot from the camera, right? So this will get a frame from the camera, which is a screenshot of what was going on. It's going to convert it into this thing called a NumPy array, which is a fancy optimized array. If you're new to programming, don't worry too much about it, but it's pretty much optimized. This logic will cause some people issues if you're running this on your CPU, but if you're running on your CPU in the first place, what are you doing? This, if you are running on your CPU or if you have an AMD card, you should change this to CPU, all right? Or you can honestly just remove this completely. This is just another optimization technique because effectively this is going to move. By default, everything here is going to be running on your CPU and your RAM. This is going to move everything to your GPU, so it's faster when computing. Again, the dimensions we talked about earlier for the screenshot is going to include the alpha channel. So this is going to be removing the alpha channel from the image. This, again, depending on the screenshot engine you use, you may need to remove the alpha channel. You might be able to keep it, all right? It's totally up to you. This is optimization technique. So effectively the image that we have, we're changing it to be half precision float values. So that way it's faster when computing. This is normalizing the photo. It's a machine learning thing. When we do the machine learning classes, that will make sense to you. And this is just confirming that the shape of it is 3, aka RGB, right? An RGB shape, because that's what the model needs to run. Next is putting your image into the model. This will give you a result. This will tell you what is in that image. It's literally just this simple. The results, though, require some work, right? They're a bunch of random looking crazy numbers, all right? So for the model here, this is also where we change the size of it. So to keep it more optimized, it's 320. Now you can use it up to 640 because it supports up to 640. So how to use the full 640 version, change the screenshot height and the width and make sure it's 640. If not, leave it the same or make it smaller. Main is the only one where you can just dynamically change this off the bat and have it just work. The other ones, you have to re-export the models. Next is going to suppress any results that don't meet what we want. So this is basically going to ignore anything that's below, if I remember correctly, right here, anything that's below 0.25 in its confidence, so 25% confident. So not completely integrated with our confidence variable from above. This is being referenced if you do control find over here, so you can mess with it. That's just for visual only. So I guess we're kind of lying to you right now. We're not really using confidence at all. I need to change that. I got some updates I got to push out here afterwards. So I got to modify this so it works with the confidence. Technically, everything's OS 0.25, which is kind of low. All right. I believe 0 here is for, yep, right here, the classes. So this is basically saying only humans. So it's going to ignore every other result except for humans, because humans or persons, when we did that printout, was 0. So this is where it's ignoring it. And then all the rest of this is just a bunch of other setup stuff. Don't worry too much about it. So then we're going to get the predictions. So from the predictions here, we're going to look over the predictions, so because you can find multiple people in the screenshot, right? So if we have multiple people in the screenshots, this is where we're going to go over those multiple people. No, I didn't make a lot of this stuff. It came with the YOLO V5 stuff, right? So don't worry too much about it. This is a lot of math, so it is kind of confusing. I promise you, programming is not very math intensive, all right? It can be if you want it to be, but it's not. So don't get overwhelmed by this. You can pretty much ignore this if you would like. But effectively, we're figuring out which person we should identify. All right, and it's going to fill up this targets array right here. So this is going to be for identifying the people. And let's go ahead and move on here. This is going to be transforming it to a data frame. So that's another fancy thing in here, like the numpy array. This is effectively an Excel spreadsheet. You can kind of think of it, but in Python. So we have columns here called current mid-x, current mid-y, width, and height, just like you do in an Excel spreadsheet. So we can access all of these columns in order to get information about the people that are in, that we're currently seeing. Next is going to be if there are people in the center bounding boxes. So if there are people basically close to where we want to start auto aiming to, this is just going to calculate if they are there, and if they are there, moving to them. And then this right here is going to be trying to do some of that smoothing between the current person and the last person in the mid coordinates. So this is some of the smoothing. If you want to add more smoothing, you can add some of the smoothing here. Next is going to be take the first person that shows up. So this is going to be sorting. So just like an Excel spreadsheet, it's going to be sorting the Excel spreadsheet based off of this smoothing logic. And then we're just going to take the first person that is effectively the closest person to the center of our screen, and we're going to try to move to them. So we're going to get where they currently are on the screen, their X and Y axis, right? This is going to calculate potentially that headshot offset if you want to be headshotting them. And then we're going to use, where they currently are, if you want to headshot them or not. And we're going to put that all here into this mouse move array. So this is how we're going to move the mouse. If your caps lock is on, then we're going to move the mouse using the core Win32 API mouse move event. And in here, this is where your mouse move is going to happen. All right, all the parameters in here, don't ask me, I don't remember. Here they are. You can go look it up. I had to go look it up when I was adding this in. And then we're going to save off the last mid coordinate because this helps with our smoothing stuff. That's pretty much the bot. And the last thing here is for your visuals. So this will show up the visuals. And then this right here is going to be for your garbage collection. So This is going to be forced. Don't remove this logic because things are going to run really bad. And then also it includes your CPS. All right. I guess the visuals are right here and the logic's right here. All right. And that's pretty much it. This is just running it. When you run it, this is going to kick off everything. Okay. That's pretty much main.py. The other ones are pretty much exactly the same. The only differences would be when the model is loaded up. All right. This is going to be slightly different. We're using the built-in logic from the Ultralytics YOLO v5. So straight up just copied, pasted their utils and models folder into our stuff. And we're using their built-in functions. So if you want to learn more about this, go look at their stuff. All right. Go look at their stuff. I was giving myself cancer trying to just grab the stuff we need because it has a bunch of extra code for other libraries that we don't need. This just works easier, right? For the tensorrt, the onnx one though, you can see we're just using the onnx inference session. So again, loading is in the same place on all of them. They just look slightly different. And the only other big difference would be for the NVIDIA ones, we're going to be using CuPy instead of NumPy because CuPy is in the GPU and it's way faster than NumPy because NumPy is your CPU only. It's very, very slow. So you'll see here for the screenshots, we're going to be using CuPy instead. Again, way faster. All right. Seeing mistakes while short teaching. That's where you can tell the difference between an amateur and a pro who enjoys what they do. Yeah, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. Who cares? All that matters is it runs at the end of the day. All right. Yeah, it might be a little buggy. Whatever. We'll just push out an update. All right. Or you can push out an update. All right. Put in a pull request and then you can say you contributed. You'll get the champion role. We'll send you your active volunteer credly thing. You can put it on your resume and tell people you're a good person because you helped a nonprofit. All right. I'm just kind of sick of this CUDA PyTorch thing. That's how I feel. I assume lowering the numbers of FPS would mess with the AI. It won't mess with it. It just may change your performance. Where is it? Like, go ahead and try it. All this stuff, just go ahead and modify it. Try it. Worst case scenario, if you've destroyed it beyond belief, just re-download the Aimbot from GitHub. And there you go. Now everything's back to the good beginning of how it was. The babies sound happy. Will you update the code on the GitHub? The changes you made here. Yeah, I'll push out an update for the confidence. And what was the other thing? I can't remember what else I pointed out. Because this we actually do need because it's used right here. So I'll update the confidence so the confidence actually works. That might help people a little bit. Get rid of this so this actually refers to the proper confidence. I'll fix that real quick. Also, will you be updating the... also, do you have any trained CSGO models? This model is trained on humans. So YOLO v5 was trained on the Coco dataset. Coco dataset. So the Coco dataset is pretty default for things. There are 330,000 images in this dataset. YOLO v5 knows what a human looks like, right? It knows what a human looks like. The reason why it's not picking up on humans in your stuff every once in a while, because you're running the small version of the model. If you run a larger version, like the medium version of it, it's going to be faster, right? It's going to be faster, but that requires better hardware, right? So it's going to be better if you just retrain a smaller model from scratch yourself on just human and non-human pictures, so it knows the difference between just those two items, and that's it, because YOLO knows a bunch of different items, right? You can fine tune it. This is what I mean by you need tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of images in order to train. Don't train from scratch. That's my advice for you. Fine tune a model. What does fine tune model means? It means you're going to use the fully trained base model because it understands at a deep level what a human looks like, all right? Not just it looks kind of like this. No, it knows at a deep level, just like you and I, what a human looks like. When you fine tune, you're basically just saying, for this game, they look a little bit more like this style. Mainly the styling might affect things, but I'm telling you right now, the major issue is you're just using too small of a model. But you can't use a larger one unless you have better hardware. It says Torch version plus CPU. It's the wrong one. It should say Torch. Yes, it should say Torch version plus GPU. As you can see on mine, unless you have an AMD GPU, it should say CPU. If we load this up, when it loads, it should look like this. Torch plus then your CUDA version. You should be using 17, right? I have 16. All right. By taking baby steps at learning all this, that's all you need to do. Again, our slogan here at RootKit, here it is. Our slogan here at RootKit is BAM. 1 bit at a time. Can it focus? No? Okay. 1 bit at a time. Doesn't matter if you're programming, if you're doing something else, working at McDonald's, I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter. All right? Every task can seem overwhelming at first. Just take it at small little chunks. All right? All of this is a lot, especially if you're new, especially when you're looking at all these symbols. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm never going to understand this. Just breathe a little bit. Start with just line 1 and go from these, right? And then start with this, right? Don't worry about that. That's another day's problem, all right? Start at 1 bit at a time. Learn the small things a little bit at a time, and eventually you'll be on top of the mountain, all right? Go watch 100 Days of RootKit, and we're going to teach you everything you need to know 1 bit at a time, your own pace, right? It's not like college or high school or whatever, there's a deadline. Just watch it at your own pace. Whether you learn fast, you learn slow, it doesn't matter. I do not learn fast. I learn very slow. Slower than most people. All right? Does not matter. As long as you're going to put in the hours and persist, you'll learn it eventually. All right? All right. Let's see here. James Campbell said, what about building external Python menu using tkinter, for example, where you can select each function, for example, confidence slider? Yes, you should do that. I highly recommend CKGing. Do that. For the love of God, do it. Have fun with it. Don't send us a pull request for it because we won't accept it, because we're purposely keeping it in a lower level state here so people get exposure to programming. But for you, in your own repo, and if you want to share it with friends, do it. Mess with it. Make a full menu system. That is a great idea, and it will work perfectly. I highly encourage you to do that. I'll see you, Enrico. Thanks for joining. I'll see you, Toxie. Thanks for joining. This helped with setting up. All right. Epic, epic, epic. Before you go, Potato Studios. For that error, you're going to start from the beginning and reinstall stuff. Because that's what people have been doing to solve it so far. If that doesn't work, I'll do some updates to try to fix that. All right. So I'll post in the Discord when I push out the update. It'll probably be in like 30 minutes after the stream ends. When I do that, re-download everything, it should hopefully fix that issue potentially also. All right, we'll see. Any other questions? Any other questions? We've talked a lot for too long. I didn't expect this to go for 4 hours. My God. All right. Too much. All right. I thought this was going to be a quick 20-minute in and out journey. All right. Not really 20, like 1 minute. This is all recorded. I have a local copy here recorded. Oops. Being recorded right now, and it's all being recorded by YouTube and will be here on YouTube. We're going to cut this up into smaller videos, so that way you don't get cancer from having to watch a stupid 4-hour long live stream. Alrighty. Let me check the Discord, make sure there's questions there. Would I work as a freelance dev for money? Sure. It's a lot of money though. I wouldn't ask a question like that. You can also contract out RootKit. And depending on the job, the prices vary, but they're not cheap. Alrighty, that's all I got for you guys today. I don't really see any other questions, so if you do have more questions, go ahead and ask in the Discord. Again, we mainly ignore a lot of the Aimbot questions because the README is pretty good. Now we have this, so I'm going to ignore it more. We're going to cut up this into videos. Also, I'm going to rework the Discord here in the coming day or two. So there will only be one channel for talking about the Aimbot because I'm sick and tired of it consuming the entire Discord. So we're going to make one dedicated channel for it, and we're going to start timing out, kicking, and then banning people that are going to ignore that, because a lot of you shitters join and don't even read our README, don't even understand what we are about and what we're doing, and just come in and ask immediately how do I install Python? Like, I'm gonna strangle you. But yeah, so changes will be coming. All right, that's all I got for you guys. They just see Aimbot. Yeah, Potato Studios, if it's not working for you, just watch the Discord. I'm going to push out an update, re-download it, and it should work for you. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one or at 100 Days of RootKit later today if you want to join. All right, see you guys.